out of here.
But talk a lot about drills and fundamentals.
Watch it.
On 93.5
Watch it.
and 107.5.
Boom, baby.
The Fan.
Yeah, I believe Purdue fans in unison, we knew that was coming. Number one for 1 week, and that will be it for the Purdue Boilermakers as they lose last night on a last-second shot, 70-68 to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Good Friday morning to the city of Indianapolis and everyone tuning in. I'm Kevin Bowen, Jake Query. As always, as we round out the week, we'll certainly touch a lot on Purdue and just really a wild finish in that game with the lead changing several times in the final 20 seconds. The Pacers have created a whole lot of news this week as well. We'll get to that. But first, Jake, unfortunately, some sad news in the racing world. Late last night, word came out that Al Unser had passed at the age of 82, had been battling cancer for nearly 2 decades, and passed in his home last night in New Mexico. Obviously, 4-time champ, led the most laps in Indy 500 history, and by all accounts, just a terrific human.
Yeah, Al Unser was, Kevin, and good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Obviously the Purdue story is what we will be the focus of the morning, and then, the Colts got some good news last night as well, but, sad news certainly. I don't think completely, unfortunately, unexpected news, but Al Unser Sr. led 644 laps among 27 Indianapolis 500 starts, the former being the most of all time of anybody. That record could be surpassed by Scott Dixon perhaps this year or this upcoming year. But nonetheless, one of the great drivers in the history of the event. Al Unser ran 27 times. In 13 of those 27 finishes, he had a top 5 finish at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he became the second driver to win 4 times. Doing that in 1987 in a show car, actually. After Danny Ungaius had been injured in the month of May, Al Unser Sr. was without a ride and ended up establishing a ride with Roger Penske kind of at the 11th hour and took that car and piloted it to his 4th Indianapolis 500 win. But he was a very understated driver, and by that I mean he was not flamboyant. He was almost the antithesis of his brother Bobby, who preceded him in passing away within the last year. Bobby Unser was a larger-than-life personality. Al Unser was kind of a more understated driver, and, of course, the father of Al Unser Jr. But he was a dear man. He was a great champion, and he was one of the more humble, I think, even though intense as a driver, men to turn a lap at the Indianapolis 500, or women driver, certainly a humble guy and will be missed. There was, Kevin, a moment that I will cherish for a very long time on Carb Day. And gosh, just how life can unfold in front of you. This year on Carb Day, Bob Jenkins was awarded the Robin Miller Award, and which goes towards, media people who've dedicated their lives to the 500 in the sport. And Bob Jenkins was battling cancer and was in kind of the final chapter of that. And he was awarded, and as I was walking into the media center, I got on the elevator with Robin Miller, and Robin said, I said, "Robin, how are you?" And Robin himself was going through a similar journey with cancer. And Robin said, "Jake, if it wasn't the fact we were doing this for Bob, I don't know that I'd come here today because I don't feel great." And I said, "I understand." And we went upstairs and got off the elevator in the media center. And the first person we saw was Al Unser. And Robin Miller sat down with Al Unser. And, I certainly knew that it was time to get out of the way, right? And those two sat there, and Robin made fun of Al Unser for like 5 minutes, which is what Robin did. And Al Unser just laughed wholeheartedly because that's what you did around Robin, is you laughed. And I'm very, you don't know in the moment, Kevin, not to make this personal, but, I took a photo of the two of them, and we'll cherish that photo now for a long time because they were two legendary figures at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and like Robin, Al Unser leaves shoes that are difficult to replicate or fill and will be missed for a very long time.
Doug Bowles shares this statement. Al's combination of his quiet and humble approach outside the car with his fierce competitive spirit and fearless talent behind the wheel made him a fan favorite. He will be remembered as one of the best to ever race in Indianapolis and we will all miss his smile, sense of humor, and his warm, approachable personality. Also find it fitting a bit, Jake, on the day that Elio's ticket gets revealed yesterday, flashing the number 4. There's kind of a lot of debate of what the picture would be with Elio. Would it be climbing the fence? Would it be drinking the milk? And it's just simply Elio holding up 4 fingers. And didn't they all 4
correct? They had
winners
taken
came
a
together,
picture.
right?
They had taken a photo of the 4-time winners in May before the race without Elio in it. And boy, how fortunate is it that Al Unser was at the race, because they were able to then very quickly do the photo again with all 4 of them. So there is a photo with Al, Elio, Rick Mears, and AJ Foyt, the 4-time winners.
So thoughts with the Unser family again. Al Unser passes at the age of 82. And by all accounts, Jake, right? I mean, one of the arguably the best resume in Indy 500 history.
I think you could make the argument that he has the best resume, yes. I mean, he was
3 runner-ups.
AJ Foyt and Mario probably are the 2 greatest all-time versatility drivers in Indy 500 history. Al Unser Sr. may be the greatest driver in Indianapolis Motor Speedway history. Rick Mears is in the conversation as well. But, his work and his effort, his body of work, and when you consider the fact that he also was the father of a 2-time winner, he is in the elitist of elite air. There is no question about that, and obviously this morning is in the most elite air, and will be missed for a long time. Did you last night, Kevin? And we'll talk more about Al Unser over the course of the morning, but I thought Purdue people kind of gave me grief for this at the end of the game last night against Rutgers. Purdue, and this is what happens, look, you go into hostile environments and you kind of knew this was a possibility for Purdue, because you go in, you're ranked number 1. There's a lot that comes with that, man. There's a lot that comes with that. And as the game went on, I was talking to Mark Monteith last night, and he said, hey, man, Rutgers only down 6. He didn't say Purdue's up 6. He said Rutgers only down 6, because a team like, you leave the door open in a game like that, in a raucous environment, on the road, you're number 1. The longer you let people hang around, Kevin, the more they're going to hang around and try to strike. And I think people start looking at it becomes a game against the moment as it is the opponent, if that makes sense, when you're the number 1 team. Like, you're looking at it and you're like, what's going on? Like, we're supposed to be pulling away here. Why are and you just start kind of tensing up a little bit. And all of a sudden you get taken out of the flow of what you normally do. And I think that happened to Purdue a little bit last night. Now, Trevion Williams played well, but they, once again, I think we've seen the blueprint, and I think Iowa exposed it a little bit. You put some pressure on Purdue's guards, you've got a chance. And Harper Jr. was sensational last night. And that shot he hit at the end, people gave me grief because I said there's not much more you could do about it. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could have, trapped him or something like that. But for the most part, I mean, what are the odds that guy's going to hit that shot? I mean, he hit a 35-foot shot, man. And they contested it. It was a heck of a shot.
Hell of a shot. Yeah, it shouldn't come down to that. I think that's the bigger question here when you're playing a Rutgers team.
Well, no doubt.
That is bad. Missing one of their best players as well. Nothing like Rutgers sweeping losing to Lafayette University at home, but beating the team from West Lafayette, Indiana, at home this season. I thought Matt Painter had a pretty accurate quote after the game and describing something that Gene Cady had told him about road games. When you play road games, specifically conference games, you need to be 10 points better than your opponent. Because if you let that opponent feel like they're still in the game, particularly late, more often than not, they're going to make the plays in their own building, no matter, I think, kind of the level of talent on either end of the floor. And it's one thing to stave off Iowa in the final few minutes in Mackey, but again, when you do it in that environment, and the rack was rocking last night, and Ron Harper Jr., I mean, those were some NBA-type plays he was making.
Oh.
The shot over Morton, and obviously the game winner there. I thought, Jake, when Purdue pushed it, they went on a big run there, kind of just past the midway point of the second half. That's when you've got to put them away. I think they got it to double digits. They got it to 10 after a very sluggish 30 minutes.
They did. Stefanovic hit a 3 to put them up. I think it was 57-47.
That's when you got to put them away.
Yeah, no question.
The other there's so many plays in the final minute you can point to. I thought when Ivy got trapped there in the corner, Jake, that's got to be a timeout immediately. Like, that was disaster. And Ivy took 10 steps to try and get out of that trap.
He did.
Like, that's where you have got to take a timeout and know we've got the lead. We're in the double bonus. This is the chance to kind of put this game away. And trying to save that timeout, I get it's only one left. I thought that was risky business. And, man, Purdue, that was a hell of a play to get Trayvon Williams as good of a look as they did.
And that was a nice finish for him, right?
Very nice finish there. Like, I was kind of thinking, what are they going to get here? And I know there's a lot of Purdue fans out there that have already pointed out the clock definitely did not start on time on the Ron Harper Jr. 3, and he should not have gotten that off in time. But still, like, getting to that point should not happen.
I would agree with you that you just can't put yourself in that position, right? No. Last night, did you watch Pittsburgh and Minnesota?
Boy, I flipped over to it afterwards, and Mark and I were texting. Mark, congrats on a big hit on the gambling aspect of it. That was a game, Jake, that had all accounts of, I can't wait to go to bed. And I just had this weird feeling. Like, maybe it's the Vikings, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to go to bed just yet. And sure enough, I'm up till whatever it ended, 11:45, midnight, I feel like that game ended.
That game did not end. It was going on forever.
No, Vikings win, I guess, for those that missed it, 36-28. So as Jake said, big for the Colts. They now move up to 8th in the AFC, one spot outside of the playoff picture.
Kevin, they can go golfing on Sunday and theoretically by the end of the round be 7th, right?
Correct. Yep. The big game, I think you point to, is Tampa Bay hosting Buffalo. And if Tampa Bay beats Buffalo, you will come back from your bye week and you will be in the playoffs.
Tampa Bay's going to beat Buffalo, right?
Well, in the NFL, I feel like using the definite statements is probably something I will stay away from. But you would think, especially on a short week.
Now, let me ask you, what are you doing on the bye week? I mean, you are fairly entrenched in Colts stuff. So what do you do on the bye week? It's a bye week for you too.
Well, you try to have somewhat of a normal life.
Right.
We're gonna cross off some Christmas things. Pat Sullivan has the Sullivan Train. I think it's very popular around town. He's been gracious to invite us up there, so we're going to do that later today. So very thankful for that. And we're doing Yuletide with my in-laws on Sunday.
The Yuletide is down here, right?
Correct. Yeah, over at the Murat. No, actually, over at
it's at the Hilbert Circle Theater.
Hilbert. Yeah.
You know, that was whenever I think of the Yuletide. Many moons ago, I used to do a morning radio show with Terry Stacy downstairs actually at that time we were on the ground floor, but on WIBC. And we would do the ads for the Yuletide. And they had annually, and I'm assuming they still do, the always lovable and likable and endearing tap dancing Santas. And I don't know, I still have the audio. I don't know if I'd probably get fired if I played it on this show, but Terry, during a live read, a live promotion, a live advertisement for the Yuletide, referenced the lap dancing Santas. To which I was like, well, and of course, immediately I had to jump in on that, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, like
here or at the Red Garter?
Exactly. I'm like, they got lap dancing Santas? Yeah. Like, I'm in, right? I mean, I was sitting there folding dollars and everything else, and then she caught herself, and we had a good laugh. But every time I think of the Yuletide, I think of Terry Stacy and the lap dancing.
Boy, that'd be a hell of a bye week. Jeez,
that'd be buying a lot for the week, right? We're actually doing that next weekend.
And you are Milwaukee bound, you said?
I'm going to Milwaukee. That's correct. Staying at the Old Pabst Brewery is now a hotel. They have a brewery on the bottom floor, but it's in the actual old brewery. So we're going to go stay at the Pabst Old Brewery Hotel and go to dinner in Milwaukee. I just like Milwaukee. It's a cool city.
It's a nice little day trip.
Yeah, it is. It's 4.5 hours. Well, the curveball's Mark's hometown of Chicago, right? Mark, let everybody know up there to keep traffic clear, would you?
I'll try.
I think you'll like this, Jake. Neil Armstrong spent more time on the moon than Purdue will have been ranked number 1 in the nation.
Okay.
Did you see that going around last night?
No, but that's solid. How long was
8 days for Neil up on the old moon, and Purdue will have 7 days. At number 1. Will Purdue be ranked number 1 at any point the rest of the season?
Depends on whether or not Gonzaga gets in there, because if Gonzaga gets to number 1 at any point when they're in conference,
right.
St. Mary's is probably the only team that could knock them off in conference.
Yeah, I don't know what BYU is.
The other big story from last night. I mean, you got the Colts. If you're going with the trifecta of local team sports stories, you have the Colts, you have obviously the Purdue story. And then, Kevin, from the Pacers standpoint, if I recall, and I can't remember, and for those that are unfamiliar, when you do talk radio, the real challenge for me, I don't know about for you, Kevin, but for me, the real challenge in doing what we do is trying to recall. I'm sure my friends get tired of me repeating a story because I can't remember if I told it on air or if I said it like in conversation somewhere. So sometimes I'm like, man, I might have already said this on the radio, and I apologize if I'm thus repeating myself. So I don't remember yesterday if it was on air or if it was when we were just shooting the bull like in the hallway. But do you remember me referencing at any point, Kevin, and humor me if you don't, that during the post-game press conference after the New York game that Mark Monteith had made a tweet and I had commented on it about how Rick Carlisle was like, man, can somebody get him a Vicks, please? During the press conference.
He was coughing a lot.
Well, you saw the news yesterday, right?
Right, tested positive for COVID-19.
Tested positive for COVID, which is now we know why the Pacers practice yesterday was kind of abruptly ended due to, quote, I can't remember the wording they used.
I think they just outright canceled it.
Well, they did, but they said it was due to an abundance of caution.
Precautions. Right?
Yeah. And now we know it's, Rick Carlisle tested positive for COVID-19. Now, I don't know what the NBA policies are in terms of like contact tracing and things like that. I mean, the players are all vaccinated with the Pacers except for one who is out anyway, Justin Holiday. And I know that when you go to the game, to be in the proximity within where the team is, you have to show proof of vaccination or a negative test. I mean, there are things in place, but it is like, the Pacers, the Pacers have a game tonight, right? I mean,
and no other player as of now, Jake, is on the health and safety protocol list. So Carlisle got a rapid test after that press conference. I'm sure he probably walked out of there. Someone in the organization probably was like, hey, man, we should probably do something about this. PCR test confirmed it. So Rick Carlisle will be out. He needs 2 negative tests to get back on the sidelines. Lloyd Pierce would be the interim. And obviously, Jake, the irony of it all is his former team comes to Gainbridge Fieldhouse tonight. That is the opponent for the Pacers, Luka Doncic and the Mavericks. And as you mentioned, Justin Holiday remains out, and we'll see today. I think Scott Agnes pointed this out on Twitter. We're seeing the Raptors also cancel practice, and both the Pacers and Raptors played the Wizards on back-to-back nights. So there seems to be a little bit of a rising numbers in the NBA right now. But right as of 7:18 in the morning, the Pacers are playing tonight, and no players outside of Justin Holiday will miss this game due to health and safety protocols.
Alan Karpick going to join us, talk Purdue, coming up just about 20 minutes. Joe Wiz will join us this morning at 8:45. Then we will also talk to Jared Weiss at 9 a.m. I'm sure there'll be some conversation about the sad news this morning, the loss of Alan Sr., but plenty of talk about the Colts and the Pacers. But when we come back, it's a Big O Tire Sports Center update. Good morning to you on a Friday. It is Kevin and Query, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Quiet Moments with Dan Dockich.
Who's to blame for last night's Indiana debacle? Blame everybody. They got out hustled in the second half. And you know what the sorry thing is? You all expect it now. Indiana used to expect to make the Final Four when you win 3 games. Indiana now gets up 20. We all expect them to lose. That's the sorriest thing.
Dan Dockich, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Books, exclusive originals, and podcasts all in one app. This holiday season, treat yourself with 60% off your first 3 months. Just visit audible.com for more details.
Sports Center updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires for the lowest price on every tire every day with financing options available. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. There's never been a better time for a cash-out refinance. Thehomeloanexpert.com. NMLS number 1326-241.
Gather near and bring the cheer this holiday season. Dazzle and delight the love of your life with a gift from Hellsberg Diamonds. Don't miss great prices on stunning diamond studs, tennis bracelets, gemstone rings, and the year's must-have look, gold jewelry for stacking and layering. Another reason to go to Hellsberg? Get a free Microsoft Surface Laptop Go with a purchase of $1,699 or more. Visit Hellsberg.com or a store near you today. Limited time offer while supplies last. See online or in-store for details.
We are 1 month away from crowning a champion in college football, and it's going to be right here in the city of Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati. One team will win it all. And speaking of winners, PropSwap has already found some in this very area. Luke Pergandy, owner of PropSwap, joins us now. Again, the only place in Indiana where you can buy and sell sports props. And you've got some teams, Luke, as in Michigan, as in Cincinnati, where their odds compared to the start of the year versus now have totally changed.
Yeah, Michigan Wolverines were 100-1 to start the season. They, of course, are playing in the Final Four. Cincinnati, we've seen Cincinnati at 150-1. We have a ton of 100-1 tickets getting posted, and it's going to be the best price in the country because these people are just trying to cash out. They're like, look, like I've came incredibly far. My team has made the playoff. Let me just get some cash for this ticket. And buyers in Indiana can swoop in and say, yeah, I'll buy you out on that bet. These Cincinnati sellers are extremely flexible. If you think they can pull it off, you'll get the best price in the world on the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Luke, I want to focus on Michigan for just a quick second. I want to say right now they're like plus 600 to win it all. If you think they're just going to win their semifinal game, go out and buy a ticket. And if they do beat Georgia, now all of a sudden those odds are shifting big time for the national championship. And you could sell it if you don't feel good about them in the national title game.
No, absolutely. I think we had an Alabama ticket for sale last week at 8-1 odds, and it sold twice now. So it sold for $2,000 at 9-1 odds, and then it sold again for $7,000. Just a little bit better than even money since they, of course, beat Georgia and now advance to the playoffs. So the point is you are better off buying a future on PropSwap than taking the money line on Michigan, because what that PropSwap customer did is he bought the Alabama ticket for $2,000, sold it again for $7,000 in a day.
Head to PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app today.
Tis the season for more at Metro by T-Mobile. This holiday, new and existing customers can get a free Samsung Galaxy tablet. Enjoy high-speed data on your tablet for just $15 a month when you add to an existing line. That's how Metro gives you more for the holidays. More ways to connect and more reasons to celebrate with a free Samsung Galaxy tablet. Only at Metro. With rebate after 3 months of service, plus tax limited time offer, in-store only. Not available in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Miami-Dade. See store for details.
Hey, it's Big Joe reminding you to stop into one of Payless Liquor's 26 family-owned stores for gifts and party supplies. 175s of Canadian Club are only $16.99, Fireball $21.99, and Grey Goose $39.99. Woodford 750s are $39.99, and Benchmark Pints just $3.99. Follow Payless Liquors on social media and the newsletter so you'll always know about special events and right-to-purchase contests, like the one this Saturday from 11 to 2 at the East Street location. All the information is online at PaylessLiquors.com. Don't pay more, get more, and pay less at Payless Liquors.
We've done it again.
Golden Oak Lending has dropped rates even lower.
I'm James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak. With a 1.875% rate and home values up, you can get more cash out now.
Call 317-706-GOLD today and make no mortgage payments until next year.
Golden Oak Lending cured my blues.
NMLS 114937, 1.875% fixed, 2.952% APR, FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity and approved credit.
The Rock Holiday Tradition returns. Trans-Siberian Orchestra live in concert. 2 shows. December 22nd at 3 and 8 p.m. Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Reserve seats on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Millions have witnessed this electrifying concert experience. Trans-Siberian Orchestra's Christmas Eve and Other Stories live. December 22nd, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The story continues.
The holidays are doubly important this year, so make your celebrations doubly special. At Kroger, we've got a huge selection of high-quality meats on top of fresh, natural produce, like fresh, never-frozen prime-grade beef and our Simple Truth organic Brussels sprouts, or delicious king crab legs with our private selection gourmet potatoes. Whew, had to say that doubly fast. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Save big on bone-in Kroger Spiral Sliced Ham. It's just 87 cents a pound with your card. Limit one with additional $25 purchase. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
This Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Purdue number 1 no longer. That'll be official on Monday. Ron Harper Jr. hits a game-winning shot last night, 70-68. They upset the Boilers in Piscataway. Here was the call from Rob Blackman and company on the game winner.
Eric to Stefanovic, left wing, lobs it down inside to Travion. Game clock at 4. He goes strong to the basket and scores. He scores with 3.4 to play. Quickly to Ron Harper Jr. Ron Harper Jr. will shoot a three-quarter court shot and make it. He made it.
Unbelievable shot.
From just inside of half court, Ron Harper Jr. makes a buzzer beater that allows Rutgers to upset the number 1 team in the country, the Purdue Boilermakers.
I'd like to hear how Rutgers called that. Well, can we hear the Rutgers call, Mark?
Slightly different than that.
All right, I want to hear. Is it different?
Just slightly.
All right, let's hear the Rutgers call here.
Get it to Stefanovic. Inside Williams with 7. One-on-one with Amori. Gets inside, puts it up and in with 3.4 to go. Get it to Harper with 3, with 2, with 1. Harper for the win. Got it! Let's go! Let's go! Harper Jr. Let's go! The game winner at the buzzer. Let's go! And Rutgers upsets number 1 Purdue 70-68. Let's go!
First. Where are they going? There's always a color guy.
I think they're going on the court, right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, who am I to say this? There's always a color guy that screws it up, right? Like, that's a pretty good call. And the color guy, it's just like, dude, like, let it breathe for a second here, right?
Let's go!
Yeah. I just saw SportsCenter had a let's go count. How many times he uses the phrase "let's go" after that.
Who is their color commentator? Who is that?
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know the history of Rutgers basketball, but typically it is
Rob Hodgson,
former player.
The only Rutgers player I know.
Jake, Rutgers is really bad. They're 4-4 on the year. They lost to Lafayette. The Leopards.
Isn't it just Lafayette?
Of Lafayette. I always think of just old, like, military generals when I see that word individually versus Lafayette.
Was Lafayette, he was an explorer, wasn't he? Or was he a general?
Yeah, I don't.
I think he was an explorer. Was he not Mark? Do you know? Mark Dyketon. No. I thought Mark is supposed to look this stuff up.
Let's go!
Okay. You know what Lafayette said to his guys as an explorer when they were getting ready to cross the St. Lawrence River? He looked at the boat and said,
go!
That's right. That's exactly what he said to him.
This is one of those losses that, this could take you out of the Indianapolis-Chicago route for the NCAA tournament. You hate to make too much out of it in December, but this is one of those things where you look at a resume at the end of the year. I mean, Rutgers is 4-4. It's not like...
Yeah, but if you win the Big Ten...
sure.
And Purdue's going to have plenty of opportunity to make up for that. You know what Matt Painter's going to say to his group when he tells them that they've got to get back on track and get going.
Let's go!
That's exactly what he's going to say, yeah. Kevin's about to experience what happens when Jake finds a piece of audio he enjoys.
7 of 26 from behind the arc for the Boilermakers. We'll have Alan Karpick on here in a few minutes.
By the way, he was a French general, Lafayette. He was a French general.
So some military background, but not...
Played an important part during the Revolutionary War. My apologies. I thought he was an explorer. Marquis de Lafayette.
I think something for Purdue, Jake, to worry about, and we saw it a little bit against Iowa, is just another guard to create. Jaden Ivey, that speaks for itself, but I think at times they lack another off-the-dribble,
that's
easy
fair.
Bucket creator.
And I think they also lack dribble out of trap and or press situation guards.
Yeah,
right?
again, I do not get why they didn't take a timeout there in the corner. I know full well it would have been their last timeout, but to me at that point, if you're able to hit 2 free throws, go up 3, you can play the whole foul up 3 game or decide whatever you want to do.
I'm sorry. When you said go up 3, did you say go?
Let's go! Will you want that played another 70 times in the next 3 hours?
I just keep looking at Mark, and actually, I don't even have to say anything. He can read my lips. Let's go! That's what I just keep saying to him.
Purdue's got NC State on Sunday at 2 o'clock. That's at the Barclays Center Hall of Fame Invitational there for the Boilermakers. Then they got Butler on... what's that? A week from Saturday, I guess, the Crossroads Classic. All right, Pacers. Jake brought this up a little bit earlier. Rick Carlisle tested positive for COVID-19. Unlikely to coach tonight against the Mavericks. So far, no other Pacers players affected by this. The Mavericks 12-12 on the year. They've lost 8 of 11. And we'll talk more about it. We haven't talked too much about it yet. But Myles Turner, Jake, he was pretty outspoken yesterday. Or I guess earlier this week. The article posted yesterday. We'll have Jared Weiss, the author of that article. I would probably strongly disagree with several of the comments Turner had in there, but definitely interested to see how he plays moving forward after publicly stating not happy with the role he's in right now.
Yeah, listen, it's pretty clear, I think. Scott Agnes pointed this out to me, and I think he's dead on. When the Pacers came out, I think what we saw was reverse order here, Kevin. When the Pacers came out to say basically like we're open for rebuild and we're open for business, they were preemptively responding to a story about Myles Turner they knew was on the horizon.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite the reaction to Myles Turner.
I think that's exactly what took place, though, is they knew internally that Turner was starting to create some... I'm not saying Myles Turner's being a bad teammate or a bad guy, but I think Myles Turner was being a little bit more vocal about his role or lack thereof, or a philosophical difference about what his role was going to be. And so they knew that was becoming more vocal. And so the statements of we're open for business was kind of a preemptive strike to let people know everybody's on the table.
In the article, Turner made it pretty clear that he's not done in Indiana by any means. But again, several other interesting tidbits in there. Kevin Pritchard also had some quotes in there, so we'll hit on that here in a little bit. The Colts moving up to 8th in the standings thanks to the Steelers losing last night. The Vikings were up 29-0. Steelers then scored 20 straight points. Freiermuth, the rookie tight end out of Penn State, he had a chance to haul in a touchdown at the end of regulation. They still would have had to have gotten the 2-point conversion to force overtime. A hell of a play by Harrison Smith. First off, a great throw by Ben Roethlisberger to get the ball into a tight window there, but just a wild finish on Thursday Night Football.
Let me ask you, Kevin, with
good news for the Colts there.
With Roethlisberger basically saying ahead of time that this is his last year in Pittsburgh, and I think it was internally he said that, is the assumption that means, and pardon my naivete here, is the assumption there that means that Ben Roethlisberger is just going to retire, or that he is looking for a change of scenery?
Oh, it's got to be retired.
I mean, I would think so too, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I mean, is there somebody that's going to come along and, I'm trying to think of some team that
unless the NFL
the Jets, come along and say, hey, we'll give you a 1-year deal type thing.
Unless the NFL expands to 50 teams, I don't see Ben Roethlisberger playing in the NFL next year.
I don't disagree with you. I will say it is interesting how at certain times in games he's able to find like an 8-minute fountain of youth, and then he kind of returns back to Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, then he looks like he's walking up the 18th hole. Lastly, before we hit a break here, we mentioned this earlier. Al Unser, passed away last night at the age of 82. Been battling cancer for nearly 2 decades now, and it was in his home in New Mexico when that news broke late last night.
He was, and still is, the oldest man to win the Indianapolis 500 when he won his 4th in 1987. He started 27 Indy 500s, 13 top 5s. His 644 laps led are the most of anybody to turn a wheel at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he was as gregarious and fun-loving as his brother Bobby was. Publicly, Al Unser was almost the antithesis of that in just being a quiet, understated, and humble driver. One of the all-time greats who will be missed, no question about it. Alan Karpick to talk about what happened last night. Kevin already pointed out he's been ribbing me all day because somebody pointed out on Twitter that Neil Armstrong spent more time on the moon?
Yeah, 8 days plus for Neil on the moon, and Purdue ranked number 7. I mean, Jake, it's the 10th year anniversary of the watch shot. You know the IU fans are pulling this out.
I'll be honest with you. If I had a university that produced the first man on the moon and that's what people had to use as like a mockery of my basketball program, I'd be like, that's cool. Yeah, we put a guy on the moon. That's cool. I'm fine with that.
Right,
Alan Karpick's next.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Pine Grove Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. The WAVE technology at Pine Grove Medical was tested by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic, and the results are in. It's proven to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces immediate results in the bedroom. I think you're going to love that. This is a $600 value, free to those that call in the next 2 minutes. 317-552-1111. That's 317-552-1111. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Pine Grove Medical Clinic now to qualify. 317-552-1111.
If it's after lunch, I probably wouldn't have fed him to the Tigers. I get a little ornery when I'm hungry, and timing is everything, people. That's why my Sportsbook app has live in-game betting for football. I don't care if the game has already started. If the time to make your move is in the second half, go for it. Caesar's got you. Caesar likes to move freely. That's why I'm partial to the total.
Must be 21. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Bowling, 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 keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, 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 Royal Pin.
Bowling's back. Same great game, new rules. And Royal Pin Entertainment wants to help you put the fa-la-la back into your corporate Christmas event. Royal Pin Entertainment offers the perfect combination of food and fun. At Royal Pin, you don't have to be a super athlete to have a blast, and everyone's on the team when you're bowling. It's time to get jolly, and Royal Pin has all the trimmings your company needs to make this year's Christmas event the best ever. It's always comfy in their modern entertainment centers, and bowling's guaranteed to create team spirit and glad tidings. Let Royal Pin organize your company's Christmas event. For more information, download the Open Lane app, call 465-8484, or look them up at royalpin.com.
Royal Pin. Bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
This is how we reinvent banking.
Every week or two, your paycheck comes through. Steady like a stopwatch, easy to view. But if your bank knows that your checks will drop like clockwork, can't they speed it up, huh? Enter Huntington, punchline please, where your paycheck's delivered up to 2 days early. Get your paychecks up to 2 days early. That's how we reinvent banking. Huntington, welcome.
Direct deposit and eligibility requirements apply. Learn more at huntington.com/earlypay.
Hun, have you seen this internet bill? Why'd the price go up?
I don't know. Did you change anything?
No. Did you? You switched us to those fancy coffee beans. Maybe you're on a roll, making everything more expensive. Did you suddenly inherit money you didn't tell me about?
Whoa.
If your internet bill is giving you trust issues, you're not a bad partner. You just need a straightforward price.
Maybe we switch to decaf.
Get AT&T Fiber. Equipment fees are included, and with no price increase at 12 months, there are no surprises. Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/faster.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Warby Parker. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at warbyparker.com/terms.
Did you pay too much for your glasses? Ever wonder why glasses cost so much? It's because for decades, the eyewear industry was dominated by a single company that kept prices artificially high while reaping huge profits. Warby Parker was created to change that.
I just made my first Warby Parker purchase. The glasses were everything I could have wanted and more. I absolutely love them. And they only cost $95. including prescription lenses.
Warby Parker's glasses are designed and produced in-house, so you get high quality for a fraction of the price. Warby Parker's glasses start at just $95, including your prescription, plus scratch-resistant anti-reflective coatings and UV protection at no extra cost. Now, do you need new glasses? Text GLASSES to 64,000 to pick 5 Warby Parker frames to try on at home for free. That's GLASSES to 64,000 to get started for free. GLASSES to 64,000.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I think we're at our 77 count of Let's Go by 7:39 in the morning. Not what Purdue fans wanted to hear at all last night as Rutgers upsets them and storms the floor in Piscataway. Alan Karpick from Gold and Black joining us to recap last night. Alan, let's separate the final shot. Hell of a play by Harper to step through and make that shot. Biggest reason why Purdue lost that game?
Biggest reason is they didn't play enough. They had a 10-point lead in the second half, didn't bury Rutgers in my view, and they're just too casual with a lot of things. I mean, a couple turnovers. They didn't have a ton of turnovers, but when they did, it did make a lot of sense. But I thought a key point, like I said, with Isaiah Thompson, 8 minutes left, has a three that rims out, would have put Purdue up 13 and probably would have been a dagger. But give Rutgers credit, and Purdue made the play it had to make, and Ron Harper Jr. made the play of the year so far in college basketball, and the Purdue has a bitter, bitter loss.
Alan, did Iowa late in that game kind of tip the hand of, I'm not going to say how you beat Purdue, but how you can slow down Purdue by pressuring their guards? Do you think that was like kind of a, hey, take notice, and that Rutgers tried their hardest to exploit that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Rutgers and Iowa are going to play somewhat similarly anyway, or try to. They have historically. They didn't press as much. Rutgers didn't as much as Iowa did. But I think that's part of it. It's just the inability to, and it wasn't just from the guard play, but just some unforced errors at times in the game where Purdue could have asserted itself and just wasn't able to do it enough. And yet, you still make the play that you should have made at the end with 3 seconds to go. Travion Williams would have had another game winner. I guess stuff happens. So that wasn't the word I used last night, but stuff happens when you make a three like that. But yeah, if you're going to be number one, you got to be at a level where you get through games like this. And Purdue learned a hard lesson, and will have a very short-lived stint in that position, unfortunately, for Purdue fans.
Alan Karpick is our guest on the Payless Liquors Hotline. He is the president and publisher of goldenblack.com. You can find him on Twitter at Alan Karpick, Karpick. Alan, I'm going to go like glass half full here, okay? And then I want you to tell me if I'm being too optimistic for Purdue people and trying to soften the blow for them this morning. Oftentimes we see teams that are dominant, and they get into March, and when they first get battle tested, they really don't know how to react to it because they've been dominant all year and have not had their back against the wall. Is there the chance that last night, while a bitter pill to swallow because Purdue was enjoying that number one ranking, in actuality is going to be the absolute best thing for them in the long run?
Well, I'll let you know in a month, and we'll see when they go to Michigan and Illinois and places like that. But I think so. I think that can be, and it's all going to be, is this team an elite basketball team? It sure showed it early on, but you're right. You get punched in the mouth. It's better to happen in December, better to happen in a very shocking way. I think that would be the lesson. Now, Purdue didn't fly home last night because they're heading to Brooklyn to play North Carolina State on Sunday, I should say. But the point is, yeah, it gives them a lot to think about. And they ought to. I think they're really a very unique and together team. But you still look at that. You look at that and say, wait, we can't screw around here. And I think that can be a very valuable thing. It's going to be, you're going to lose games. I didn't think Purdue was going to go undefeated, but you didn't think it was going to be Rutgers either. But I asked through that game, even when it was a 10-point lead, I thought, this game is a little too close to comfort for Purdue fans, and it ended up proving out to be. But I think you have to look at it that way, and it will be what Purdue does with this loss and how it when it gets pressed again, will it come through? And that has been going to be a storyline I think we're going to be watching the rest of the season.
Alan Karpick from Gold and Black joining us here on Kevin and Query. Alan, this is something that I brought up earlier. Just I think Purdue, if there's one thing that can definitely hurt them, continuing to hurt them, I think moving forward is just the lack of maybe another dynamic guard off the dribble. And, I might be asking for too much, but Bert pointed out here on Twitter, he goes, Purdue's lack of a point guard has been exposed the last 2 games. No one talks about how many times they struggled to get the ball down the floor and they lose offensive tempo, burn time, and make bad passes. Do you think maybe, I don't know if it's a lack of development of Eric Hunter or just not having another complimentary guard off the dribble next to Jaden Ivey? How much do you think that will hurt Purdue this season?
Well, I think Purdue will have to adjust to certain things and may change the way that it tries to attack the press, and that pressure. There's no question you want to slow Purdue down. I don't think that's great coaching necessarily on the other side, whether it be Fran McCaffrey or in Rutgers' situation. But you want to limit Purdue's possession time, so Purdue's going to have to adjust to that. I don't know. Isaiah Thompson also not 100% healthy, though Matt Painter didn't say that last night. I don't know if that's a thing where maybe you have to bring more of a physical presence and Ethan Morton back into that position to handle the ball a little bit more. Again, you had shots. You had a 10-point lead, even with all that gnashing of teeth. The turnovers didn't really come. Jaden Ivey's turnover in the corner where he tried to step through and got called for traveling. Threw the ball in the wrong place. They need to learn and work on executing on the press. I think that's as much the story. It is what it is, guys. You got Eric Hunter Jr. and Isaiah Thompson who have been serviceable. It's been the storyline or the talk of are they good enough to win a Purdue a trip to the Final Four? We'll find out. I think we found out with Isaiah Thompson, especially early on when he shot the ball well and made plays at the Mohegan Sun, that, they're good enough. But you can't have 0 points out of Caleb First, 0 points out of Isaiah Thompson, 0 points out of Mason Gillis. Brandon Newman goes 1 for 6. That just doesn't get it done, especially when Brandon was 1 for 5. I'm not going to pin it all on him. Purdue had a bad shooting night and let Rutgers stick around, and it's an L in the Big Ten when that happens sometimes.
Alan, so much will be said, understandably so, that Purdue fell victim to believing their own hype or reading their own press clippings or staring at their own ranking. Is it possible that actually it was Rutgers that was fueled by that?
I think that's possible. I can't speak to what guys you do get caught up. You can't help but being caught up in that if you're Purdue to some extent. And again, what I know of this basketball team is extremely humble, pretty hardworking. But yeah, I think it fueled Rutgers because Rutgers was embarrassed at Illinois by 35 points. And Ron Harper Jr. had one of his worst games of his college career in Champaign. Rutgers has given Purdue trouble, as we know. I think it's 4 in a row by the Scarlet Knights over Purdue. They play very, very hard, and in a gymnasium, so to speak. And it really is kind of like a gymnasium. 8,000 fans were just nuts in there. Again, all things Purdue's going to have to overcome if it wants to be elite. What we'd say after tonight or after last night's game is Purdue's good, but are they elite? And are they good enough to step through games like this? We'll find out. They're going to have some chances to prove themselves, not only in the next few weeks, but certainly in the Big Ten when you look at road games at Illinois, at Michigan. Those are going to be games that Purdue and at Indiana certainly that will test the Boilermakers. They're just going to be tested everywhere they turn.
Alan, will end with a football question. Saw David Bell, George Karlaftis, not surprising news, declaring for the NFL draft. Does that mean they won't play in the Music City Bowl?
I would be surprised if they play, from what we understand, but I don't know that. I don't think they've officially said that. Purdue starts its practice today. We don't have media availability until Monday, so I don't know that we'll hear much on that front. But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. How can you blame them? If you're George Karlaftis, you're a top 10 pick in the draft. David Bell, maybe a second-round guy. They both have a lot of money on the line. That is the way of the world in college football. Nobody really likes it. I don't even know if the players like it. I think that the Bulls and somehow something needs to be figured out making this financially work for some of these elite players. But it would be disappointing if they don't get me wrong from a Purdue perspective, because it's clearly your two best players. I mean, there's no stating the obvious. Karlaftis has made a huge difference on Purdue's defense. David Bell has just been David Bell for 3 years. He's been outstanding, one of the best. He's the best receiver I've seen at Purdue. I've been watching Purdue football since 1966. He is the best true receiver Purdue's ever had. Different player than Rondale Moore, but still the guy that can go get the ball, run great routes. You guys have seen it all these years, being an Indianapolis guy. But, yeah, it'll impact things for Purdue if that happens, and Purdue's going to have to find a way to compete against Tennessee come December 30th.
Yes, it'll be Purdue and Tennessee in the Music City Bowl, and then on the hardwood looking to bounce back with NC State Sunday, 2 o'clock at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Alan, always love that you're willing to hop on in the 7 o'clock hour with us, so thank you for doing that and recapping one that we definitely did not expect this time yesterday.
Yes, that's the beauty and the scourge of sports. As Gene Cady, the great philosopher Gene Cady always said, expect the unexpected. And that's what we got in bushel-fulls last night.
That is the truth. Alan, have a great weekend.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
It's Alan Karpick right there from Golden Black.
You know what's interesting, Kevin, when he mentions David Bell and Rondale Moore? It's so funny because I thought of this last night. David Bell, as great a football player as he is, David Bell had an unbelievable shot that ended the college or the high school basketball career of Romeo Langford. Romeo Langford, who was a teammate early in high school of Rondale Moore, of course, right? And when David Bell was going the length of the floor, Romeo Langford, instead of getting in front of him, kind of ran alongside of him, and Bell got past him for Warren Central and scored the layup that ended Romeo Langford's career. I actually thought of that play last night, because when Harper was coming up the floor, I thought I think it was Jaden Ivey that was on him, was
doing kind of Ethan Morton and Jaden Ivey
right.
Were both kind of.
And Morton was right there, and Ivey, I think, thought that Ron Harper Jr. was going to try to skirt to the right, like redirect, and so Ivey kind of lost his footing, anticipating Harper going to the right instead of straight on and pulling up in front of Morton. And as Jaden Ivey kind of pulled away, my first thought was, that looks exactly like Romeo Langford pulling away from David Bell. Like that exact play was immediately what I thought of last night. But that was a hell of a shot from Ron Harper Jr. And for those that weren't with us earlier, and good morning to you, you missed the one of the great calls in the history of radio. In terms
Are we really going back?
Well,
you think Purdue fans want to hear this again?
They want to hear, certainly. They do, because of the hilarity of this is professionalism 101 for the color commentator for Rutgers basketball. The still yet to be ID'd color commentator last night for Rutgers basketball.
Get it to Stefanovic. Inside Williams with 7. One-on-one with Amori. Gets inside, puts it up and in.
Nice call.
With 3.4 to go. Get it to Harper with 3, with 2, with 1. Harper for the win. Got it! Let's go! Let's go! Harper Jr. Let's go! Game winner at the buzzer. Let's go! And
it's Rutgers basketball. Do you expect them to be calm?
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I keep saying this, and I'll say this if you and I are still doing this program in 5 years, and certainly take the under.
Let's just get to Christmas.
But one of the key elements of radio is you try not to step on one another, right? I get it. There's an excitement level to that. But, come on, man. I mean, he says, let's go. I think it was 7 times.
And Rutgers upsets number 1 Purdue, 70.
That sounds like a football call is the irony of it.
Yeah, I did love that. That environment was pretty cool last night. Seeing that place rock in the student section.
And I'm telling you,
terrific.
Kevin, and look, I know Purdue's had good wins so far. I mean, they've played some good teams.
Oh, yeah.
But
good wins away from home.
Right. That it is possible that long term, that there are going to be perhaps moments where you look back and you say, hey, you know what? If you look at some of the great teams that we've seen in college basketball, I mean, locally speaking, I mean, I remember Butler, the second, remember when Butler went to, was it Duquesne, and lost at Duquesne, and you're like, oh, man, that last year was a flash in the pan for Butler, and then boom, they turn around and they go to a second straight Final Four. You know, I mean...
Yeah, I don't think anyone should be writing Purdue off after last night. Are there concerns to discuss? Certainly. Well, one thing, I don't know about you, Jake, but when Todd Meyer blows our phone up, I feel like he's speaking for all of Purdue Nation.
By the way, that's executive producer here, Todd Meyer,
correct.
Not former Indiana basketball player Todd Meyer.
Yes, right. Diehard Purdue fan. I'm not really on the boat of this is good for Purdue. Now they won't have the pressure of being number one. Purdue needs to feel that pressure. Because when you get to March, you're going to feel an immense amount of pressure based off the expectations that were there in the preseason and how last year's NCAA tournament went. So I think being number one, if they ever get back to that point in the regular season, is a great thing. Feel that pressure, get used to the bullseye, because when you get to March and it's one and done, that pressure is going to ratchet up big time. So I'm not one of these people this is a good thing for Purdue. It's a December loss. No. They should embrace that pressure, because when you get to March, totally different animal.
I think you made a really good point earlier, Kevin, in the fact that are they going to get back to number one? Well, a lot of that depends probably, as we were talking about, if Gonzaga eventually ascends to number one going into conference play, it's going to be tough for Gonzaga to relinquish that, because of the fact that obviously when you're talking about Gonzaga, once they get into conference play, they're not playing the competition at the level of a Big Ten or an ACC or even a Big 12. I mean, Baylor, we'll see what happens with Baylor. There are 8 unbeatens left in college basketball. Baylor is one of those teams.
Gonzaga got a big win last night. Did you see that?
I saw who they beat, right? What'd you call them? Do we know what they are?
Call them the Beavers. I'm not sure.
We don't know if they're the Beavers or not, but we'll tell you who we're talking about, and we'll do it next. Joe Wiz, by the way, in 50 minutes.
Let's go! This is what you missed if you haven't been listening to Indy's Home for Sports.
This is a monster day for Indianapolis.
Thought it was going to be possible.
On your radio.
And it's an over-the-shoulder grab into the end zone for a touchdown.
On the Fan app. You're listening to the best of Kevin and Query on your smart speaker.
You're listening to 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
On your phone.
I mean, what? That is a lot of cash.
I guess you're all out of excuses. Listen anytime you want.
Just listen to that.
To the Fan.
Armor Air is more than a heating and cooling company. They cover it all. Their service fee is only $29. ArmorAir.com. Day or night, they do what's right.
We are currently locking mortgages in the low 2s and have a 21-day closing guarantee. TheHomeLoanExpert.com.
NMLS number 1326241.
Here's an unexpected holiday surprise. A last-minute sale on all earrings at Diamonds Direct. This weekend, 25% off. That's right, all earrings. An incredible 25% off. Diamond studs, diamond hoops, colored gemstone earrings, designer earrings. All earrings included. Who wouldn't love a nice pair of diamond stud earrings for Christmas? Make it happen this weekend and save an unprecedented 25%. Best prices of 2021. Special financing available too. Friday through Sunday only. And only at Diamonds Direct. Official jeweler of the Indianapolis Colts. Keystone at the Crossing.
And that's when I realized it's called a hamburger, not a handburger, because you carry it with your hand. I was wrong, people. It's like that time I thought I couldn't make the perfect app for football. I was wrong again, people. All I had to do was make a sportsbook app where you can earn season rewards all Sunday long. Nobody's better at bettering things than Caesars.
Must be 21. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
In Indiana, quality family time is a little bit different. We don't just sit around a dinner table. And Craig down the lane. We build our bonds with 18,000 others. Moms and dads, brothers and sisters. Together, we are gold-blooded.
It's Lucas Oil Family Night on December 10th as the Pacers take on the Mavericks. Tickets start at $30 and include a Pacers hat, hot dog, bag of chips, and small Pepsi product. Get yours at Pacers.com/family.
Of course, she needs a college education, but I don't want her buried in student loans for the rest of her life.
It starts here.
She needs a school with great resources, but some of these campuses are so big.
The School of Health and Human Sciences at IUPUI has the resources of a big university on a campus with a hometown feel. It's a more affordable option with access to career paths in Indy's world-class healthcare and sports entertainment hospitality organizations.
At those big schools, I'm worried she'll just be a number.
Hey, it starts here.
Hey, why not IUPUI?
That's what I was thinking.
The need for healthcare workers is growing, and a health sciences degree prepares students for growing careers as physician's assistant or for pre-med and pre-PT and OT programs. Partnerships at Indy hospitals and research facilities provide hands-on learning opportunities.
The School of Health and Human Sciences at IUPUI. It starts here. Learn more at shhs.iupui.edu.
There has never been a better time to work at Amazon. They are offering sign-on bonuses up to $3,000 and pay up to $24.50 per hour. Many jobs come with great benefits that start on your first day, and Amazon offers a variety of paths for career growth. They have flexible shifts and schedules, and you can start in as little as 7 days, so you'll be earning extra income just in time for the holidays. Go to amazon.com/apply to get started today. Amazon is proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Warby Parker. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at warbyparker.com/terms.
Did you pay too much for your glasses? Ever wonder why glasses cost so much? It's because for decades, the eyewear industry was dominated by a single company that kept prices artificially high while reaping huge profits. Warby Parker was created to change that.
I just made my first Warby Parker purchase. The glasses were everything I could have wanted and more. I absolutely love them. And they only cost $95, including prescription lenses.
Warby Parker's glasses are designed and produced in-house, so you get high quality for a fraction of the price. Warby Parker's glasses start at just $95, including your prescription, plus scratch-resistant anti-reflective coatings and UV protection at no extra cost. Now, do you need new glasses? Text GLASSES to 64,000 to pick 5 Warby Parker frames to try on at home for free. That's GLASSES to 64,000 to get started for free. GLASSES to 64,000.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Join Greg Rakestraw in for me today as he gets you ready for the big weekend in sports. Also, he'll recap Rutgers basketball as the Purdue Boilermakers took him on. Join Rake today.
It's Kevin and Query.
Speaking of rivals, my good friend Tom Brady is here tonight. By the time he is inducted
on 93.5,
boom, baby,
107.5, The Fan.
Jake, in an hour, we're going to have Jared Weiss from The Athletic on, and he wrote a story yesterday that broke kind of right as the show was ending about Myles Turner. And when we had Scott Agnes on yesterday, Scott hinted that there was a Myles Turner, I don't know if side of things is the right way to describe it, but there was going to be something that was coming out from Turner, and it certainly was very vocal about his displeasure with how he has been utilized here in Indiana over the years and continues to be utilized in a role that he thinks is too limited for him. He feels like he deserves more touches and a more expanded role. He made it clear in the story he's still open to staying here in Indiana, but is adamant that 7 seasons into the NBA, he still has more potential that he feels like can be tapped into.
I think there are a couple of things in play here, Kevin. Number one, whenever a player speaks up, I think that we, meaning fans, media, those not intimately involved inside of a locker room, assume that that means that there is chaos or discontent amongst the entire roster and that things are just unraveling from the inside. I don't know that that's necessarily the case here, but I think for so long we have examined, can Turner and Sabonis play together? Can Turner and Sabonis play together? It's become as much a question in this town as when the hell is I-70 going to be done? And so I think on the floor we have found, they have found a way, and I think that they are two guys that as people, I don't think that there is a conflict between the two of them. I think they're good teammates to one another. But I think that Sabonis is such a valuable offensive piece on the low post from a scoring reliability standpoint that took away the necessity for Myles Turner to be a scoring big. And it kind of remolded or reshaped the role for Myles Turner as a rim protecting, facilitate with outlet passes, start transition, guy, and that his contribution offensively is when the ball rotates around, if you're open, you have the ability to shoot threes, put up some three-point shots. Under Nate Bjorkgren, that was more prevalent, but it still exists today. For Myles Turner, I think what he is looking at it as is, look, I can score too. I don't, I had a 40-point game, like I can score. And I think the Pacers are like, yeah, but our low post scorer is Sabonis, and that's who it goes to on the low post. You're more of a, if it rotates through on the high side guy. So the irony here, Kevin, is that the role in which Turner, I think, thinks the Pacers have pigeonholed for him is actually illuminating the skill set that makes him a valued and coveted piece in more places than it does Sabonis. So if, in fact, he would like to be traded, or if, in fact, he would like a different situation or, scenery, it probably is going to be from a team that is buying into the position and the calling card that is the one that he wants away from. If that makes sense what I'm saying. Like, somebody's going to get him, not because they're like, hey, we think of you as a low post scorer and a guy that we're going to go into and you can play on the wing. They're going to get him because they're like, we want you to do basically what you were doing for Indiana.
You think that shies teams away from having interest in Turner, saying, oh boy, he's getting public wanting a big role?
Yeah, I think that it is possible. Yes, I do think that there might be teams that are like, well, wait a minute, that's not the role that we're
not bringing you here to give you 10 touches in the post.
Right, like I
night
think
in
that
and night out.
I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that he thinks that he is Kevin Durant, but I do think that he thinks that he's a little bit more offensively gifted than he is being utilized towards in Indiana. Now, all that to be said, I do think that Scott was onto something in the fact that I think the Pacers, when the Pacers were telling Bob Kravitz and people at The Athletic, hey, we're open for business to potentially move some pieces and make some major retweaks and rebuild, I think that was a preemptive statement, knowing that Turner was getting ready to come out and say, I might want out of here.
Yeah, I'm probably not totally like, yeah, that's what happened, how that transpired there. It seems like you're giving almost Turner like too much. If you're the Pacers, you're giving him too much clout.
Too much power. Yeah, I get that.
Like, wow, we're really going to react to Myles Turner like that.
Well, I don't know that it was a chess game, Kevin, as much. Or I don't know that it was a he said, she said, or, we're going to be we're going to usurp you. I don't know if it was that as much as, hey, you know what? If Myles Turner is going to come out and say that he is unhappy here, let's get in front of it and just say Myles Turner is available. And let's start the phone calls now before. In other words, his value goes down a little bit. If nobody had any idea that Myles Turner was, if all of a sudden there was no story and boom, it comes out, Myles Turner wants out, now his value has gone down a little bit, right? Like if you're buying a car from a guy.
But Turner didn't say he wants out in that story. And he went back on Twitter last night and was like, I understand, but in basketball terms,
in basketball terms, he kind of did, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're looking to buy a new car and some guy's got a car sitting on his front yard with a sign for sale, there's a difference between for sale and make an offer. And like when Myles Turner comes out and says, I'm not happy with my role, da-da-da-da-da, teams are going to look at that, and if that comes out of nowhere, if that's the first thing, then teams are going to go, hey, I'm going to call Indiana because this guy wants out, and they got a malcontent, so I'm going to get nickels on the dollar. But if the Pacers come out ahead of time and say, we're thinking about retooling some things, if it looks like the Pacers as the organization are the ones instigating the availability, his value remains higher than if it's the player himself instigating it. That's my point.
I don't really follow his I deserve a Sabonis type role. Like, that's not his skill set. He's not some elite passer. He's not some tremendous facilitator. He's not a guy that you throw the ball to on the block and he gives you, like when you see Myles Turner act like a traditional big guy, it looks very awkward. Like that's not his game. He's 7 foot, but like he kind of gets a little herky jerky when he gets the ball. Doesn't look smooth. Doesn't look very like coherent, if that's a right way to describe it. When he does try and act like a traditional post guy, I'm trying to think of, Jake, all the times opposing teams have said, "Oh yeah, we're going to put a 6'5" guy on Turner because we know if they throw the ball to him in the post, he's not going to take advantage of that." Like you could create a highlight reel of him posting up smaller guys, right, and it not working out. So I don't really follow his year 8 is coming up, and if I get a bigger role, I can prove more. Like year 8, that's a long time in the NBA for you all of a sudden to think you're going to flip a switch. The one part of the story, and again, we're going to have Jared Weiss on in about an hour to talk more about this, that I thought was interesting, is Kevin Pritchard mentioned in the article, and it was directly quoted in saying, at some point, organizationally, we've got to figure out how to manufacture that real star. When I hear that quote, the only thing I can think of is you've got to find it in the draft. Like, no one on this roster is a real star. And he pointed to, well, maybe Victor Oladipo. And obviously the injuries have played a role in this. I tend to think the 17, 18 Victor Oladipo, that was a fluke. Like, I think if Victor had stayed healthy, you saw it even in the next year a little bit, he was not going to be an all-NBA player on a perennial basis.
Here's what drives me crazy. Paul George, why is Reggie Miller, if you stop 100 people right now, we go out right now on Monument Circle, and we stop 100 people. Are you from Indianapolis? Yes. Are you a sports fan? Yes. Okay. Who is your all-time favorite athlete in Indianapolis? Non-Colts division. Reggie Miller is going to get 85% of the votes. Okay, non-Colts division. Why is that? Reggie Miller grew up in Riverside, California. Yeah, okay, it's actually like 40 minutes from L.A., but in the eyes of people, grew up an L.A. guy. Went to UCLA. I remember when Reggie Miller in the Market Square Arena days, when he first got here, he would hit a basket and they had this little thing on the Jumbotron of 2 hands in cement that was like Hollywood. You know, he was a glitz and glamour Hollywood LA guy. Yet, when Reggie Miller got drafted here, he came here, he put his hard hat on, he played, and there were times, people forget, there were times like with Chuck Person or whatever else, it was a debate of like, who are they going to go with, and is Reggie Miller being featured enough? But eventually, Reggie Miller adopted us. And when they played the Knicks, he said, "This is for you, Indiana. We're coming home. We can sweep this team." And people loved that because he developed the Hoosier inferiority complex, chip on our shoulder of we're better than people think we are. And he never strayed from it. He had opportunity to go elsewhere. He never pursued it. Okay? Now, he didn't have as much opportunity as people thought, but still, he never pursued it, at least, into the 11th hour. Paul George, Victor Oladipo, those guys had the potential. Paul George, also outside small town California, Fresno State, not a big star, comes here, develops before our very eyes. But people start getting in his ear, Kevin. Not Paul George necessarily, but other people start getting in his ear. The beginning of the end for Paul George was when he went on Jimmy Kimmel and he was dressed like he was walking out of the Michael Jackson Beat It video and quite frankly looked ridiculous. And Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about how ridiculous he looked. And he's like, well, my sister now is my fashion consultant and my brand. And that was the start of PG-13 and whatever else. Victor Oladipo, not a huge recruit. Maryland, goes to Indiana, develops before our very eyes, comes to the Pacers as part of this trade and boom, becomes a star. But people start getting in his ear. Not Victor Oladipo per se, but his representative, his agent. You're too big a star. You need to be on The Masked Singer. Indianapolis is holding you back. What drives me crazy is these players think that they can't get the marketing, branding, cachet in Indianapolis, and the most advertised athlete in the history of sports the last 20 years played quarterback in this town and made a name for himself and hosted Saturday Night Live while quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. If you can play, they're going to find you. But the challenge the Pacers have, Kevin, is that when players develop for the Pacers, it's not the player themselves per se, it's the people in their ear they're listening to, as the track record indicates, that are telling them that they need to go and match up with the NBA culture of playing with bigger stars to become a bigger name on a sexier franchise. And that's the challenge. And you look at who's going to be here tonight and Luka Doncic, or you look at Giannis in Milwaukee, you need to get guys, I'm telling you, that did not come up through the AAU culture that then developed before your very eyes with a team and feel a loyalty to that market.
Yeah, and I think you can point to some players that are not necessarily in the international realm. And to be fair, I don't think Turner falls into that category.
I would agree with that.
You're describing. I don't think Turner's seeking out.
I would agree with that,
marketing.
but I think that's what Pritchard is talking about when, like, hey, the challenge here is getting guys that we cultivate that want to stay here.
Right. You know, you've seen Damian Lillard sign a second contract in Portland. You've seen Donovan Mitchell do that in Utah. You know, can you find those types of talents? And they're not international players. Now, Mitchell, came up, I think, wasn't like this heralded recruit, didn't have a great freshman year at Louisville to where he was a can't-miss top 5 pick. Lillard obviously played at Weber State, so, he might not fall in that category. But I guess when I just hear those comments from Pritchard, it all comes back to the draft of, can you draft, develop, and then prove to that player, which is difficult. No way, shape, or form am I acting like it's easy. Prove to that player that this is the right environment for them. Like, in no way are you going to be able to find a star via a trade or free agency. That's just not going to happen at all. And again, Turner, I just feel like Jake Turner should be very happy that his role can still make him a ton of money in the NBA as a high-level rim protector and a guy that can hit open shots.
I'll say this.
He gets exposed when you try to put him in other roles.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I don't disagree at all. One of the challenges also, in addition to everything I just talked about that the Pacers face, I've been through, I forget what they call it exactly, the St. Vincent Center or whatever it is across the street from Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the facility, the complex for the Pacers. Look, I've been through and taken a tour of it and seen the medical rooms and the whirlpools and the kitchen area. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's state of the art. It's as good as anybody in the league. The facilities are as good as anybody in the league in terms of what the players have at their immediate access 24/7, right? All of it. Fabulous. And admittedly, this is not the case with Giannis in Milwaukee, don't get me wrong, but one of the biggest things, Kevin, if you are an up-and-coming NBA player that I think the Pacers have to contend with, look out the window right now. Do you see the sun?
Well, I mean, there are other markets where the weather isn't great.
Understood. But what are the markets where guys want to play?
I mean, is it glorious in Milwaukee 24/7?
Again, Giannis, like I said, the exception. But from a free agency standpoint, Brooklyn would be the one place where, but it's New York, right? But for the most part, where do guys want to play? They want to play for, the Clippers, are you kidding me? But it's LA. The Lakers, the Heat. How did the Heat become the sexy cachet team?
Yeah, I think it's more lifestyle than weather.
If lifestyle and weather go hand in hand.
Yeah, but it's not like the Magic are attracting all these great free agents, or the Pelicans are attracting great free agents, or various.
But
climates.
I don't know that anybody that considers New Orleans to be the same lifestyle as Miami, Los Angeles, even Phoenix. Those areas. I mean, state income taxes has something to do with it too. I mean, there's a reason why people. But like Dallas, part of the reason why guys wanted to play in Dallas, maybe not now, was when Mark Cuban first got there. Like, everybody got their own PlayStation, and they had big, huge leather chairs. But the weather's nice. It's warm. You're not going out and, you don't see a lot of free agents all flocking to go play for Philly or Detroit or Indiana or Memphis, right? Lifestyle. I'm telling you, like, the NBA more than any other professional sport is a lifestyle-driven league. Like, guys love the lifestyle of the NBA. Because and the branding of it too, because you're not wearing a helmet, you're not wearing pads and everything else. People can see who you are, and so branding, lifestyle. I just think it all comes together, and I love Indianapolis. Right? You cut me, I bleed the torch. I love the state of Indiana, but there's no doubt about the fact that it is a challenge in terms of the lifestyle here,
which adds to the importance of the draft, because that is the only way to acquire. Let's hit up Dave real quick. You want to talk? Speaking of the draft, Chris Duarte and potentially building around him. Dave, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing this morning?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Oh, no problem. I'm going to you guys talk Turner, Sabonis, and then how you guys talked about Reggie Miller, how he was that outside guy that grew here and became a Hoosier. And that's why we were drawn to him. Could Chris Duarte be that guy? I mean, should we be focusing more on building him into that guy? Because, there's not very many rookies that can come into the league and, like him, put up 20-plus points multiple times with ease. I know he's been injured with that shoulder lately, but before he got injured and then just the other night, he could throw up 20 with the best of them, no problem.
Yeah, the challenge with Duarte, and I don't disagree, but it feels like we're redoing this every 5 years, right? Like when Paul George stiffed him, it was like, well, that's cool because we got Oladipo, and then Oladipo leaves, and it's like, yeah, but it's Myles Turner's team, and then Turner, it's like, yeah, but Sabonis is really good. And Duarte. The problem is the wrong word. The challenge with Duarte, I think Duarte is, in fact, a really good piece, Kevin, on an upper-level team.
Agreed.
I don't know that he is the straw of an upper-level team. And he's, 24 years old?
Agreed, yeah. Agree and all that. I do think he has the right mindset.
Totally.
Of what you want. And
totally.
Again, his upbringing is much different than I think typically what you're seeing as well. But, Dave, to your point, I just don't view him as a get on my back, let's go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right. Let's go, right? Let's go is the key word.
Let's go!
That's right. Somebody said, by the way, you wouldn't be playing that if it was against IU. Yes, I would. Trust me. A Rutgers guy like that goes with a let's go, we'd be playing it.
Who is it? Can you look that up, Mark?
Can somebody let us know who the color commentator is for Rutgers basketball? And if you're wondering what that play is from, or what that audio is from, it's from the top play of our Big O Tires Sports Center update.
The Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Purdue became the 5th team to lose to an unranked team in their first game of being number 1 last night. Wisconsin was the last team to do it in 2007 as the Boilermakers lose on that game-winning shot by Ron Harper Jr., 70-68. Jake, it's not often you see the lead change. Was it 3 times in the final 15 seconds?
Yeah, look, the
Harper Jr. had a hell of a shot before
and both teams tried their hardest to let the other one take control of it, right, with turnovers late, too. It was like, at one point, Harper Jr. on their second to last possession, it was like, they're throwing the ball away, and then Ivy gets trapped, and it was a house of horrors last night for Purdue.
7 of 26 from behind the arc for Purdue. Rutgers was 7 of 14. Matt Painter asked afterwards if he thought this was a wake-up call for his team.
Yeah, you can look at it 2 ways. You look at it a wake-up call, or a team like Rutgers played really well. And you still have to give credit to the team that won. I don't know as much as a wake-up call. We need to value the sessions better. We need to box out on free throws. Each guy needs to be better defensively. We have some guys that are really cerebral, good shooters, good passers, know how to play. But then the other parts of the game, rebounding the basketball, defending, being able to be a little bit better, give the session better across the board.
Look, late in the game, Kevin, I just felt like it was clear that you saw a team, and this happens. Sometimes teams on the floor have the same mindset as fans. When you watch a game as a fan and your team's playing and they're struggling, you think to yourself, like, what's going on here? Like, let's get it going. Let's go. Then they got up 10, and you're like, okay, we're good. Rutgers comes back, gets it back into like a 5-6 point game, and as a fan, you start to panic. I think teams have a tendency to do that too. And late last night in that game, it just looked like a team in Purdue that never felt like they had firm footing, and it just got away from them. And it was a great environment.
Great, and then credit that Rutgers crowd, Jake. When it got to like 6, you would have thought it was a tie game. Like, that crowd was locked in. I thought when Purdue pushed it to about 10, I think right around like an 8-minute mark, I thought that would be enough there. And then Jaden Ivey getting trapped in the corner there, you just got to take a timeout. He was doomed in the corner, but that turnover was huge. It allowed Harper to hit the first shot that gave them the lead. Purdue got a great look. Trayvon Williams made a great play to go up 1 there. And yes, I know the clock did not start on time there, but on the Ron Harper Jr. game winner. 30 points and 10 rebounds for him. He is indeed, for those that didn't watch it, the son of Ron Harper, and maybe that'll show up.
You know what's interesting?
Pop quiz.
They did say last night during the game, Ron Harper Jr., who decided to stay home and go to Rutgers, which led me to wonder, like, when did Ron Harper, or how did Ron Harper end up in the New York, assuming that Ron Harper Jr. grew up with Ron Harper, like,
because he went to Miami of Ohio, right, for college?
Yeah, he's from Dayton, Ohio, and he went to Miami of Ohio, and then he played for a couple of teams, but the Nets were not one of them. So I was like, man, how did Ron Harper end?
I'm not sure on that. Indiana's got Merrimack. We mentioned the Merrimack. It's the Beavers, right?
I gotta look this up.
Merrimack on Sunday, who lost to Gonzaga last night, 80-55. Merrimack does have 3 Division I wins, which is more than Lafayette has, who lost to, or actually beat Rutgers at home. It'll be a noon tip on Sunday, and then Purdue has got NC State at 2 o'clock on Sunday, and then the Crossroads Classic for both of those programs. Butler's got Eastern Illinois at 4 o'clock. Eastern Illinois is terrible.
They're the Warriors, Merrimack, by the way.
Much more intimidating than the Beavers. I'm going with Beavers.
I like Beavers more.
Yeah.
By the way, we'll stick with Beavers. That's fine. The Beavers are an Under Armour school. I don't know this. I don't have kids. Mark, how old are your kids?
4, 2, and 8 months.
Kevin, your Rosie's too young, I guess, to be rocking gear, right?
Well, she wears Notre Dame every Saturday.
Is Under Armour still cool with the kids, or is it like fallen down into like the Russell category?
Oh, I don't think it's at that level.
No, I still see kids.
Yeah.
Like my nephew's 10 years old. He plays baseball. He's wearing Under Armour all the time.
But like at one time, it was Under Armour was it was above like Nike with kids, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's fallen. Has it not? Am I off base?
Fall to Russell Athletic though. I mean,
Champions caught up to it, right?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about
I'm telling you, Champions.
I don't think so.
No, hold on.
Starter jackets may have a higher.
Where are you going with
Champion
this?
right now.
Champion has had a resurgence.
I mean, Under Armour is still massive.
I'm not saying it's not, but I'm telling you, like Under Armour's cachet or its level of brand seems to have come down a few notches. Champions had a resurgence lately. I know they're not doing teams with young people. Like right now with kids are like, yeah, Query sounds like the one that's got the 10-year-old. No, I don't, but Merrimack though, they're an Under Armour school, and so I'm thinking to myself, I'll bet when the Beavers got the Under Armour contract, they probably thought, let's go, is what they thought to themselves, right? And then now they're like, well, okay, we're an Under Armour school.
By the way, the Let's Go guy is Austin Johnson. He just started in October. So
well,
he's
Austin,
new.
Former player? Is he former player?
Former player.
I can't tell that he just started because he's so cool and calm under pressure in game situations.
Don't think you'll hear that from Mark Boyle and Eddie Gill tonight. Pacers and Mavericks, 7 o'clock tip over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Pacers are looking for their first 3-game win streak of the season. Doesn't sound like Rick Carlisle will coach. Tested positive for COVID yesterday. Lloyd Pierce would be the interim coach. The Mavericks have lost 8 of 11. Luka Doncic is back. What do you think we see from Turner tonight? Do you think we see something a little bit out of the ordinary from him in terms of trying to do things that are outside of his role?
No, I don't think so. I do think that he is. I do think Turner's a pretty mature and professional guy, and you know, you could say what you want about him coming out with that article, but I don't think it affects him. I honestly do not think it will affect the way he plays.
The Colts got some great help last night. It was a wild Thursday night game. The Vikings up 29-0. The Steelers looked deader than dead. They then score 20 straight. Minnesota responds to the touchdown. Pittsburgh answers again. They had a chance to force overtime on the final play of regulation. Big Ben threw a great ball to Pat Freiermuth, the rookie tight end out of Penn State. Freiermuth had his hands on it, and Harrison Smith, the Notre Dame safety, made a hell of a play to punch that ball out. They still would have needed to have gotten the 2-point conversion to force overtime, but just some great drama there. With that loss, though, the Colts move up to 8th, and if the Buccaneers beat the Bills on Sunday, the Colts will return from their bye week in the playoffs for the first time in quite a while, maybe all year. I probably is all year with how poor of a start the Colts have gotten off
This
to.
from Dustin. Hey, Jake, my daughter plays but won't wear Under Armour, loves Champion shirts and slides, etc. But Corey says, no, Under Armour's still very big. My oldest has a ton of it. My wallet feels it, too. Yeah, the Colts, whether they're wearing Champion or Under Armour, to be able to go golfing on Sunday and possibly come back on the 19th hole and realize that they've moved into the playoff situation. But, Kevin, as we know, you still got to play the games, right?
You do. Speaking of fans. Pro Bowl voting, Jonathan Taylor leads the entire NFL in Pro Bowl voting. Other players in the top 10 for the Colts at their positions: Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, Michael Pittman. No Kenny Moore on that list. We'll obviously talk a whole lot more about it next week. But Frank Reich teams coming out of a bye, Jake, they are 3-0. They've scored 41, 30, and 29 points in those 3 wins. We should note the opponents, the Lions, Texans, and Jags. So I would say right? Bill Belichick and the Patriots, slightly different competition coming out of the bye week.
Also, overnight, sad news coming out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Al Unser Sr., who was the second man to win 4 Indianapolis 500s. He, of course, won the race in 1971, 78, and then in 1987, he was back in Albuquerque when he got the phone call from Roger Penske for the second weekend of qualifying that a ride was available after Danny Angias had been involved in an accident, and he piloted a show car to his 4th Indianapolis 500 win. He made 27 Indianapolis 500 starts, 13 times he finished in the top 5. Of course, those 4 wins counting in that. He was part of one of the great rookie classes of all time in 1965 that included Mario Andretti, Gordon Johncock. Al Unser finished 9th that year in his first start. Wow, Billy Foster was in that rookie class. Trio. Yeah, George Snyder was there, Jerry Grant, and Joe Leonard, all rookies in 1965. Al Unser was a very understated, to the antithesis of his very loquacious brother Bobby. Al Unser was a very understated, quiet, confident guy, the father of 2-time winner Al Unser Jr., and was kind of a staple around the month of May, coming back for different events as a dignitary with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he will be absolutely missed. But sad news that his 17-year journey with cancer came to an end in terms of his time on Earth last night in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And he was back in May this year, right? They got a picture with him, AJ Foyt, Rick Mears, and then Elio.
Yeah, Al Unser had come back, and they did a photo with the 4-time winners.
Before Elio
won the race.
Right.
And then after Elio won the race, they, fortunately, I believe it was the next morning as part of the winners' photos, they lined up AJ Foyt, Al Unser, Rick Mears, and Elio Castroneves to do the 4-time winners photo. Also on Carb Day, which was, I think was May 28th, Bob Jenkins was awarded an award, the Robin Miller Award, which is given to media members who have, contributed to the world of racing. Robin Miller was, of course, battling leukemia. Bob Jenkins was towards the end of his journey with brain cancer. And I showed up at the Speedway to go to it that morning. I'm certain it was Carb Day. But at any rate, I got there and I saw Robin on the elevator in the media center, and he said to me, Jake, I don't feel great, but I had to be here because it's Bob Jenkins. And that was the impact of one of the great men in the history of that place in Bob Jenkins. And we went upstairs on the elevator, and I was just fortunate, as is always the case, to be in a place I don't even necessarily belong with, people that I certainly don't belong with, and got off the elevator, and there was Al Unser. And Al Unser and Robin Miller sat down and had a moment where Al Unser was laughing and he was jovial, and Robin could bring that out of anybody. And I, like several others that were there, just sat back and enjoyed the moment, Kevin. Enjoyed the moment. And I don't know, I knew that Robin was ill. I knew that Al was aging, obviously. But of course I didn't, nor did anybody else there know that in that moment, in that piece of time, on May 28th, that what we were watching are 2 fabulous, fabulous, fabulous men that were incredible contributors to their craft that would again 7 months later be reunited in the heavens along with Bob Jenkins. But both very dear men, and Al Unser will be missed by a lot of people at 16th and Georgetown.
Definitely thoughts with everyone associated with the Unser family, and also to Demaryius Thomas's family, former Denver Bronco wideout, I think 5-time Pro Bowler, lost his life tragically yesterday at the age of just 33. So I saw there were some Peyton Manning comments going around on Demaryius. Actually spoke with Demaryius earlier this week. So just awful news as well.
And they believe that was a seizure,
football.
Right?
I believe I saw that. Yeah, found in his home. Yes, I believe that is.
Well,
that is
the
correct.
only reason I pointed out, Kevin, especially in today's culture and climate, at 33 years old, people are going to ask how someone passed away, right? I mean, wait a minute, 33. Like,
Yeah.
what was there? There are a million places that people can go. It is my understanding they don't know definitively what Demaryius Thomas passed from.
Yeah, nothing official, but I think that
he
is
had a
early.
history of seizures, right?
Yeah,
and so
I think that is your
it is
early
believed
report.
that might have been.
They said he was found in his shower, unconscious. So
Really?
something with a medical event regarding that.
Yeah, terrific wideout and part of those Denver teams with Peyton Manning, and even before, Peyton had a great NFL career.
He was a really good player, no doubt. I always get him confused. Who was the other Thomas that was there?
Julius Thomas.
I mean, those
was
two
their tight end.
in the year that Manning was just throwing a touchdown like on every other pass, seemingly.
Yeah, them and Emmanuel Sanders.
Those two were huge parts of what Peyton Manning was able to do. But at any rate, did you say that you came up with a pop quiz? By the way, we're an hour away from it, and I'm nervous because I haven't come up with any questions.
Yep,
you did come up with them.
Good to go.
Okay, Joe Wiz is going to join us in 10.
Hey, Indy, want big winners in college football and the NFL? Catch me, Joe Wiz, Saturdays and Sundays at 8 a.m. here on The Fan, brought to you by BetRivers.com.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. There's never been a better time for a cash-out refinance. Thehomeloanexpert.com.
NMLS number 1326-241.
Santa's helpers are waiting to get your sleigh all fixed up and ready for the cold weather at Big O Tires. Just stop in and see Mike in Brownsburg, Derek at 86th and Zionsville Road, Alan in Lebanon, Shane in Mooresville, Josh in Plainfield, and Victor and Steve in Whitestown for a free multi-point vehicle inspection. Big O can also take care of routine maintenance, and they've got the lowest prices on brand name tires that you know, like Michelin, Cooper, Goodyear, Yokohama, and their very own line of quality Big O brand tires. And financing isn't an issue at Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Hubler has it, savings. Hubler has it, choices. Hubler has it all.
Hubler really does have it all. Savings, service, selection, and a whole lot more. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified. Every Q certified vehicle includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and not one, but 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. But that's not all. Each Q certified vehicle on our lot has fewer than 100,000 miles, or is less than 9 years old. Looking to sell your car? Hubler will pay top dollar, even if you don't buy ours. Come see why Hoosiers have trusted Hubler for 60 years. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com.
Hubler has it all.
Hey, it's JMV here, and people ask me all the time, how can we get a world-class wine at an affordable price delivered right to our door in the safety of our own home? And I say, here's your answer. Cameron Hughes Wine has a unique business model. In fact, they're sourcing top-rated wines directly from the best wineries around the world. Luxury wines at affordable prices. These are wines at an already amazing value for the price. And today, you can get top-rated, award-winning wines at incredible savings. Cameron Hughes is offering a deal exclusively to my listeners, so listen up. 20% off and free shipping on 3 or more bottles. Top-rated, award-winning wines at chwine.com. Promo code JMV for 20% off 3 bottles or more plus free shipping. chwine.com. Promo code JMV.
When it comes to working at Geico, our best advocates are our employees, like Maxine. But since she is so focused on growing her career, we hired an actor to read her story.
At Geico, I love mentoring the new associates to help them make this a career and not just a job.
And with new opportunities and job stability, Geico has been helping people grow their careers for over 75 years. The only downside, she still hasn't met the gecko. Where are you, fella?
Ready to start your career, Indy? We're hiring claim sales and service agents. Apply online today at geico.job/Indy.
Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Lyrics to this song, don't you, Kevin?
Let's go. Slightly different tone than Austin Johnson's.
It's also because Jake said that, we have no sun here. California has sun.
That's
so all the NBA players want to go.
Austin Johnson played at Rutgers, you said?
Yes.
And this is his first year on the radio network?
The first, month and a half.
I didn't think it was that bad of a reaction.
One time is fine. Twice, okay.
I mean, Rutgers lost to Lafayette at home last week.
One of the great calls in...
Lafayette's 2-7.
I hear you.
Lafayette's nickname, Jake?
Hold on. Eagles.
Alliteration.
Okay. Leopards.
Boom.
Is that it?
I think so.
Oh, you know what I have to say about getting that right? That's right. That's what I have to say about that. You knew that was coming, right?
There goes any chance we had of getting Matt Painter on the show ever.
Yeah, people think that I'm doing that to rub it into Purdue. I'm like, no.
If Merrimack's radio announcer did that on Sunday, you'd be doing the same
Absolutely,
thing.
no question. Do you remember the
Let's
famous...
go Beavers!
That's right. Let's go Beavs. Do you remember the Michigan... This is kind of random, but a couple of years ago in college football, one of the more unbelievable finishes was when Michigan State...
Oh, they blocked the punt.
Yeah, the Michigan punter tried to do like the rugby-style punt, and it was blocked, and Michigan State returned it on the last play of the game. And matter of fact, the kid that scored the touchdown separated his shoulder because they all piled on him, and it separated his shoulder. But Jason Strayhorn, who is an Indianapolis guy that played football at North Central and then played at Michigan State, I don't know if he still is, was the Michigan State color commentator. And when that happens, he's like... Ball, like he's reacting like he's a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And as they're scoring, you hear him like, let's go. It sounds almost identical to it. I think he actually he intermixed profanity, which is that's less than desirable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm trying to think back. There was a call earlier in the year from Matt Taylor where Rick Venturi, midway through the play, just says a word or two. And it gives so much color to what happened on the play. It might have been like the deep ball to Paris Campbell, where let's say Matt goes, play action fake by Carson Wentz, and Rick just goes, got him. And it's the 600 level of looking down at the all 22 makeup of the field and being like, Paris Campbell's that or wide open that this play is going to hit. If it indeed does there. So, yeah, that will not be appearing on any sort of Jumbotron inside of Mackey Arena.
I wonder if we could
any point.
Can we get Rick Venturi to mix in some Let's Go in their next game? He's got a week to work on it, right?
Let's
go! He has to sound like that, though. He'll probably strain his vocal cord.
He could, right? He absolutely could.
We've been talking a whole lot of Pacers today. We'll have Jared Weiss on in about 20 minutes, who wrote the Myles Turner piece. I find it interesting that a guy in Jared Weiss, Jake, that covers the Celtics, wrote a piece about Myles Turner wanting a different role. I'm kind of curious how the story came about, so we'll ask Jared about that. But Nick's been hanging in there quite a while. Nick calls a whole lot, brings great insight, wants to talk some Pacers with us. Nick, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for calling.
Hey, no problem. Query, you bring up some really great points on this because I do this for a living with working with personnel, and you talk about Reggie, you talk about the mentality, you talk about Giannis, and just these players. I want to ask a question to you guys regarding perception with the Pacers, because this seems to be kind of the inconsistent kind of mantra of this franchise for the last decade. I think it all kind of precipitated with the brawl. I think that spun us into a kind of a vortex of chaos, but it is a generational thing with these players. It's not like Indianapolis in general, we're not a flashy market. We are a hard hat working class market. It's not Miami. It's not LA. But then again, you got a market like Milwaukee, and Giannis is very ingratiated with that culture up there. Milwaukee's not Las Vegas, let's be honest. So my question is, do the Pacers lack perception in terms of working with this generation of players? Because it's not the company man mentality anymore. And I see this with the millennials. I see it with Gen Z. I mean, you're seeing this now. And I don't know what the secret sauce of a solution is, but do the Pacers need to kind of refocus their paradigm of how they work with these players? It just seems like you get to the point like Paul George or Myles Turner, they get exasperated. They vocalize on social media they want to leave. And then the Pacers realize, well, we should have sold our stock when it was still hot, and we waited too long. Do they lack this perception of this ability to work with this generation?
I think the challenge is this, Nick. I think what you're talking about is something that is across the board, like you mentioned, in all walks. And at the risk of sounding like old man yelling at clouds, which I will here, I'm not saying entirely, Kevin, but there is certainly an increased number with younger people. Again, I've always said LeBron James was the first player of a generation walking through a door into an entirely new arena. And by that, I mean young people in the sports landscape that are walking through that have been in the limelight and been household names since the age of 15. There are people right now that know who the number one 16-year-old point guard, 17-year-old point guard in America is, and they're following him on social media, and they're looking at their Instagram and da-da-da-da-da. And so those players now, when it gets to the NBA, as much a part of their game and how many they're scoring and how they're facilitating and whatever else, a big part of who they are ingrained in them is their brand and their social footprint and the number of likes and retweets and followers they're getting and how good their pictures look on Instagram and on Twitter to an extent and TikTok and whatever else. That is a part of society today with people under the age of 25, more so than it was 5-10 years ago, obviously. And so, yes, there is an element of personal branding that is more prevalent with young people of all walks today than it was 10 years ago. And the reality is personal branding is sexier to most people in more glamorous areas than it is a flyover city. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
I think if you ask Kevin Pritchard what is the one thing you think about the most in your position, he would say, how do we create more of a welcoming player culture,
1,000%,
climate,
1,000%, which is why they built the facility they did across from Gainbridge.
And at times, I think you borderline cater to players, i.e., run coaches out because the players have had a big influence.
What do teams do now, Kevin? Every team, Colts, Pacers, whatever it might be, what do they do on game day? If you go to Pacers or Colts social media sites the morning of the game, what are you seeing? Here's their fashion. Look what they're wearing. Look at their latest bag.
It's a big reason why the Colts did Hard Knocks. They want to put their players in that limelight. So to Nick's point, if it's a perception issue, that impacts free agency. How do you get around that? You draft them, and then in more formidable years, at 19, 20, 21 years old, that's when you try to prove to them that this, again, very difficult. I'm not acting like it's easy, but that's the path that you have to take. Can you find Donovan Mitchell, a Damian Lillard, who was drafted by their respective franchises and have at least signed one contract?
You think LaMelo Ball's going to be living in Charlotte in 5 years?
Nah. Not if LeVar has anything to do with it. No.
If you could put a wager on that, I'll bet Joe Wiz would know about it. And speaking of that, he's next.
BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, welcomes you with a special offer on the NBA. Simply place a $10 moneyline wager on any game. If either team hits a three-pointer, you'll win $200 in free bets, regardless of your bet's outcome. Just use the bonus code, TheFan200, that's all one word, capital T, capital F, when you make your first bet. Enjoy NBA action like never before with BetMGM's live betting options, boosted odds specials, and daily promotions all season long. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com. And again, use that bonus code. It's TheFan200, all one word, to win $200 in free bets if a three-pointer is made in the game you wager on. Nothing beats a win at BetMGM. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Indiana only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
This holiday at Metro by T-Mobile, the big 5G upgrade just got better because now Metro has the largest selection of free 5G phones in prepaid, like the Samsung Galaxy 5G. And Metro gives you one line of unlimited 5G data for just $25 a month with 5G included at no extra cost. So you'll be able to stream, snap, upload, and share the holiday cheer all season. Ring in the holidays with the big 5G upgrade from Metro. Get unlimited 5G and a brand new 5G phone when you switch and trade in. More choices on free 5G phones, more savings, and more 5G coverage at no extra cost. All with the power of the T-Mobile 5G network. That's how you get more for the holidays. Only at Metro. After 24 months, $25 price may increase. Limited time in store only. No tethering. Unlimited on network only. Required port from eligible carrier if congested. Data users greater than 35 gigabytes per month notice lower speeds, and Metro customers notice lower speeds versus T-Mobile due to deprioritization. Video at 480p. See store for details.
Hey, it's Big Joe reminding you to stop into one of Payless Liquor's 26 family-owned stores for gifts and party supplies. 175s of Canadian Club are only $16.99, Fireball $21.99, and Grey Goose $39.99. Woodford 750s are $39.99, and Benchmark Pints just $3.99. Follow Payless Liquors on social media and the newsletter so you'll always know about special events and right-to-purchase contests, like the one this Saturday from 11 to 2 at the East Street location. All the information is online at PaylessLiquors.com. Don't pay more, get more, and pay less at Payless Liquors.
At Kroger, we know the holiday season is going to be special for everyone. So use the Kroger app to get personalized coupons, weekly deals, and rewards like fuel points. That way you'll get all the fresh holiday specialties you love at prices that are lower than low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Get more ways to save at the Buy 5 or More Save $1 each sale. Just buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Spectrum Mobile is reinventing wireless again. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month per line. No contracts, no added taxes or fees. Includes nationwide 5G. Save up to 60% with Spectrum Mobile. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month. Call 855-438-2999 or visit a store near you.
Offer valid for new customers on 2+ unlimited lines. Spectrum Internet required. Savings based on 2-line comparison of unlimited plans among major national carriers as of 9/20/21. Prepaid excluded. Restrictions apply.
Bet Rivers Sportsbook is ready to make this football season one to remember. All season long, you can score at Bet Rivers Sportsbook with free bets, odds boosts, and more. With player props, thousands of game lines, and live in-game betting, Bet Rivers Sportsbook delivers a best-in-class sports betting experience and has an experienced customer service team to back it up. Visit Bet Rivers Sportsbook today and bet this football season with a local trusted team that puts you first. Go to BetRivers.com and be a winner. Partner of French Lick Casino Resort. Must be 21 or over to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 1-800-994-8448. Playable only in Indiana.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money,
Dollar. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Kind of an ugly Friday morning here in the city of Indianapolis. Temperature is supposed to be pretty good, but luckily it's going to be sunny Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on our airwaves, because Joe Wiz is giving you picks for the weekend on the Fine Line here, right on our airwaves, and Joe Wiz joins us now. All right, Joe, college football largely over, but one of my favorite games of the year, Saturday at 3 o'clock, it is Army-Navy. We have the over-under at a crisp 34.5. Joe Wiz, where are we going with that? Army also, I think, over a touchdown favorite as well.
Yeah, by the way, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's going to be 60 degrees here in New Jersey. I'm a little, where I live in Hoboken, I'm about 5 miles from MetLife Stadium, but everyone talks about traffic. That 5 miles sometimes takes an hour to get to MetLife. So this is interesting because this game is on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and, we talked about it on my show, The Fine Line, which runs tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., and, it just gives me the chills because, 9/11 and, having this game being played just 5 miles from ground zero is rather, it just gives me such an emotional feeling about it. But when you take a look at it here, the current line at Bet Rivers has Army favored by 7. Some 7.5s out there. I see the totals at 34.5. But these totals, when these two teams meet, they've gone over 15 straight times. So it's like unbelievable. I mean, Army has the best rushing attack in all of college football, averaging 301 yards per game. And they lead the nation in time of possession. So what that means is they get the ball and they just keep running and running and running. And when you know it, it's 3-0 in the end of the first quarter. And then you're stuck with the over like anybody that did it on Monday night. And then like, oh, my God, what did I just do? But meanwhile, you take a look at Navy. Their record's a bit deceiving, okay? They come with a record of 3-8, but they've played quality
tough schedule,
teams.
Right?
They played Houston, they played SMU, they played Memphis, they played Cincinnati, who, by the way, is in the college football playoffs, and Notre Dame, who's playing on New Year's Day. Those are 5 good teams. So throw out the records. When these two teams meet, anything's possible. And going back to the old days from 22 to 2015, Navy had won 14 consecutive games, but that's changed since the Army has won 4 of the last 5. Getting to the point here, I think the dog is live here. I think that Navy has a shot to cover the spread with the 7.5, and I'm not defying logic or history here. 15 straight unders. I'm playing under. I'm going under in this game here, even though the total is at 34.5. I'm going under. 15 straight is too much to ignore.
Joe, when you look at, obviously the marquee college football games in conversation, especially with the championship game being here in Indianapolis, it's going to be the 2 semifinal games, but that's still a ways before we get to the kickoff of those games. How much will the line fluctuate when you're talking about Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati? Will we see a lot of movement of the line either way on those games between now and kick?
No, unless we have a drastic injury that takes place, we're going to see the lines of where they are. And right now at BetRivers.com has Georgia favored by 8, and the totals are 44.5. And in the other game, Cincinnati's playing Alabama. Bama's a hefty 13.5 point favorite. I imagine there'll be a little bit more money coming in on Alabama, but Cincinnati couldn't ask for a better matchup. I know you say, "Wow, Cincinnati's playing Alabama. How could you say that?" Well, I think that Bama's defense is a bit suspect. If they would play Georgia, it would have been a little bit more of a defensive, a low-scoring game, even though Georgia didn't play well last week. I expect Georgia and Alabama to be playing again in Indianapolis for the national championship. However, Cincinnati is going to be very tempting, but the line at 13.5, you might see some 14s out there because the public is going to be all over Alabama after seeing what they did to Georgia. So you might see a little bit of a fluctuation, but not much. But, when you talk about the bowl games, there's over 40 bowl games, and I talk about 2 of the games that take place next Friday, which tips off the college bowl season. And there are so many opportunities to make money, but the one thing we know, there's a lot of underdogs that cover during bowl season, so don't be afraid to play the underdogs. And, next Friday, there's a couple of interesting bowl games that kick it off, and I'm hoping that when people listen to the Fine Line tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., I'm going to be talking about Toledo, Middle Tennessee State, and Coastal Carolina, Northern Illinois. These are obscure teams many people don't follow, but these are times that you can find some good value and make some money.
I was going to say, I scratch the itch, baby. Come on, Joe. We got to start early in bowl season. All right, couple of NFL games on Sunday that have caught my eye line-wise. And again, Joe Wiz, the Fine Line, 8 a.m. Saturday and Sunday on our airwaves. Cleveland Browns favored by 2.5 over the Ravens. They are at home, but that caught my eye. The other one, the 49ers on the road. How many time zones? 3 time zones? Favored at Cincinnati by 1.5. Your thoughts on either or both of those?
Yeah, when you take a look at Baltimore, these two teams just met 2 weeks ago. Cleveland needs to really win this game. It's a make-or-break game. By the way, I want to thank Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson for going for that 2-point conversion in Pittsburgh. I made a ton of money with the Steelers on the money line. I was getting nervous there, but still don't know why he went for the 2-point conversion, but he did. But Cleveland now, Baltimore, they're going to have to sit there and question themselves, hey, if somehow they have a chance of getting the number 1 seed right now, they're behind the Patriots, but if somehow that comes down to that game decision they did against with going for that 2-point conversion, Pittsburgh, Harbaugh's going to have to answer some questions. But yeah, the line has Cleveland favored by 2.5 at BetRivers, which is the sponsor of the Fine Line. The total's at 43. Now, when these two teams met 2 weeks ago, Lamar Jackson had 4 interceptions. Is that going to happen again? Probably not. The total's at 43. Cleveland's favored here. I'm not sure why Cleveland's favored, okay? I think that Baltimore will rebound. I'm taking 3 and bought the half point. And looking, we always talk about getting good value and shop around for good numbers. The line's 2.5 at BetRivers. You can buy the line at half point, and you can take Lamar Jackson and Baltimore at +3. I'm just not. I don't trust Baker Mayfield, and Chubb and Cream only held to 36 rushing yards when they played in Baltimore, and they're going to have to do it against a tough Ravens defense. I like the dog in that game, Baltimore. As far as San Fran, Cincinnati, Games are pick 'em. Some lines here at Bet Rivers, there's some 1.5. I see some pick 'em surfacing as well. San Francisco coming off a loss against Seattle. It's not surprising. Seattle always beats San Francisco. The Bengals with Burrow, his pinky is a little bit of a question mark. Total this game's at 49. I'm expecting a lot of points to be scored in this game here. I don't have a feel for the game, but I do have a feel for the total. I think that both teams are going to go up and down the field if Burrow is somewhat healthy and his pinky doesn't impede. Total's 49. Don't be afraid to play it. Play over the total. You'll see a high-scoring affair with the 49ers and Bengals on Sunday. I talk about every game in college football, the NFL, and college basketball. Hey, guys, I'm sorry. I know that Purdue's out in your neck of the woods there. RU get the big upset yesterday at the buzzer. That was great.
RU. They were chanting.
They were chanting that all night,
some
Joe.
"Let's go" is what they were chanting last night. That's right. That's exactly.
Hey, listen, I love it.
Did
March
you storm
Madness
the
in
court,
December.
Joe?
You couldn't ask for anything better. March Madness in December, and even Seton Hall, they were a small favorite, but you could call it an upset somewhat. They were a small favorite at -2. They beat Texas, so we made a statement here. Are you getting that through? That's the type of action you see in March. So, but congratulations with Purdue. Purdue's off to a flying start. They're going to, right now, prior to last night's loss, they were ranked number 1 in the country, but they are going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I expect them to be somewhere when it's all said and done.
Fine line this weekend on this radio station, as a matter of fact, 8 o'clock. Joe, we appreciate it and look forward to talking to you. Enjoy Army, Navy, and we'll talk to you next week, all right?
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, again, Joe Wiz on the Payless Liquors guest line.
I think he stormed the floor.
What's that?
I think he stormed the court.
You know what he was?
Last night,
You know what he was doing when he stormed the floor?
Oh,
he was
God.
probably yelling. Let's go! That's exactly what he was yelling. Up next, we're going to talk Pacers and Myles Turner. It's Kevin Aquari, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Sports Center updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires for the lowest price on every tire every day with financing options available. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
We are currently locking mortgages in the low 2s and have a 21-day closing guarantee. TheHomeLoanExpert.com.
NMLS number 1326241.
I'm not saying you have to love football. We all have different likes and dislikes, people. Personally, I'm not a fan of the avocado. I just don't like the mouthfeel. But if you're someone who loves football, truly loves it well, my sportsbook app might be the greatest thing that has ever happened to you.
Must be 21. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
At Huntington, we've been asking ourselves, is it possible to lend money at 0 interest? And it totally is. Introducing Standby Cash. When you need extra cash, you can qualify for between $100 and $1,000 at Huntington. And it's free when you autopay us back across 3 months. Why would a bank do that? Just to look out for people. That's how we reinvent banking. Huntington. Welcome. Without automatic payments, 12% APR. Eligibility requirements apply. Amount available is based on customer eligibility. Learn more at huntington.com/standbycash.
In Indiana, quality family time is a little bit different. We don't just sit around a dinner table. We build our bonds with 18,000 others. Moms and dads, brothers and sisters. Together, we are gold-blooded.
It's Lucas Oil Family Night on December 10th as the Pacers take on the Mavericks. Tickets start at $30 and include a Pacers hat, hot dog, bag of chips, and small Pepsi product. Get yours at Pacers.com/family.
Indy's number 1 for new country is 97.1 Hank FM.
Maybe some things last forever after all.
Starting your day with 97 minutes of commercial-free new country every weekday morning at 8:30 with Joey and Mindy. More new country and fewer commercials means more of this.
Hey, it's Luke Combs.
This is Carrie Underwood.
Hey, y'all, it's Luke Bryan.
Indy's number 1 for new country is
97.1 Hank FM.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX Indianapolis.
The Pacers host the Dallas Mavericks this evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. It's Kevin and Query.
What the hell are you doing, John? Come back and get it. Charlie, come back toward the ball. If he's coming, I'm going to engage him, and then I'm going to slip out into the screen.
Concentrate, get better. Say to yourself, I got to get better.
On 93.5
Oh, baby!
and 107.5 The Fan.
Let's go!
Hear that, Jake? Some food in the kitchen?
Oh, really?
Rise and roll action?
How about that?
Sold. You don't have to tell me twice.
You know, I've got to do a blood draw later, so I'm fasting.
Oh, gosh. Boy,
that's
a kick in the you-know-what.
It is that, right?
Speaking of kicking the you-know-what, I think the Pacers have had several of these really off the court. They've won on the court this week, but quite a lot of news over there on Delaware and I guess Pennsylvania, whichever entrance you want to go in on. Jared Weiss from The Athletic, he had the Myles Turner story yesterday. Kevin Pritchard's voice in there as well. A very detailed story, and he joins us now. Jared, thanks for the time.
I'm a Delaware guy, for the reference.
Are you a blue hen?
Are you?
I mean, I understand that the public loves a good Pennsylvania Ave entrance, but I'm a Delaware Ave guy.
Oh, Delaware. Okay. I thought you meant you went to University of Delaware. No, yeah. Delaware entrance for certain.
Delaware is definitely the media entrance and where the practice facility is. And you were over there, I believe, over the weekend and earlier this week, Jared. First, I would just want to start, how did this story come about? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, at least I'm judging off your bio, you cover the Celtics mainly, so just kind of curious how all of a sudden you came to Indianapolis and broke this story.
I also cover the NBA for The Athletic, and Myles Turner is a player I've been fascinated by for a long time, where he had these incredible flashes early in his career, and then it felt like things had kind of plateaued from the outside looking in, and I was very curious to see how it was all going and what could change, and obviously, we found out that things aren't going great, but things could go really great very soon if they can just kind of flip that switch. But obviously, Myles is just not happy with the way things are going.
Jared, what's fascinating to me, and I want your assessment or opinion of this, I talked about it earlier. What's interesting to me is for Myles Turner, and I get that he can be a multifaceted player, but he's been, I'll use the term pigeonholed in Indiana, whether that's fair or not, but his role here, or the one that he has been utilized the most, is rim protector, facilitating an offense through transition, and at times stretch guy if the ball rotates out to him and he has an open look from the outside. That's kind of been his role. But what he does unique is rim protection. And for that, if he wants to do more than that, the thing to me that would be ironic is that his value elsewhere and the things that teams might covet from him is exactly the same kind of role that makes him unique in Indiana. And so therefore I can't see him being like a wing player elsewhere, and that would be kind of the crux for him. Is that a fair overall view of it?
Yeah, I think Myles' big thing is just that he's a center. He wants to play center. And, the Pacers are in a tough spot because Domas Sabonis is a really damn good offensive center. He's one of the best in the game. And so Myles, it's not like Myles is completely perplexed as to why he's in the situation. Like, it makes sense for sure. And I just think for him, the way that he was put out on the wing, even before Rick Carlisle got there, I think pigeonholed is the right term. I think he got it right, and that he had to learn how to be a wing type of player. He's made a lot of significant improvements in that stuff beyond just being a good spot-up shooter. I mean, his ability to put the ball on the floor, to play make, has really improved. And generally, the Pacers this year have, Rick Carlisle, I can't remember if this actually made the story, but he preached a lot to me about simplicity and that they want his actions to be as simple and as efficient as possible, which is, code for we don't want him making risky plays or risky turning the ball over. And Myles' viewpoint is, I've been getting much better at this stuff, and if you let me drive the ball more than like 3 times a game when I have a good closeout attack opportunity, I'm going to get better much more rapidly because I'm getting more NBA game reps. And so he just kind of wants that room to grow in those regards, and just to also get more pick and rolls with the first unit so that he can kind of get more touches and get more rhythm and the kind of things that he's really good at. While right now it tends to mostly flow through Sabonis, except for we saw in that Knicks game after I left and after all this stuff went down, where Myles was very invigorated by everything that happened in the last couple of days, and Carlisle and the coaching staff had tried to really reconfigure a lot of what they were doing to get him a lot more of those opportunities. And he looked great, and the team looked great, and the Pacers looked like a team that could seriously contend if they were playing at that level every single night.
He's Jared Weiss from The Athletic. His latest is Pacers consider shake-up. Myles Turner seeks bigger role with more opportunity. Jared, we saw Myles tweet out late last night, it seemed like he was a little frustrated with how fans maybe were interpreting the article, asking people to read the story. So I'm sure that was great for your clicks. Is that him wanting to make it clear that he's not like demanding a trade or wants to be traded necessarily? He just wants a more expanded role, whether it be here or elsewhere.
It's funny. I didn't even know about that. So thanks, Myles. But he is. I think that the big thing, and that was something he really emphasized when I was putting the story together, is that he is not asking out of Indiana, and he really, really likes it in Indy. And he has a great setup there, and he talked a lot about his involvement with the community and his Warm initiative and stuff like that. I mean, he wanted to make it clear that when this came out, that it wasn't like him saying, I need to leave Indiana, the community of Indiana. It's that, my career just needs to progress. And it's obvious that if the status quo remains as is in Indiana, it just can't happen there. So it's just obvious that he needs to be traded at that point. And they've almost traded him several times. It's not like the trade rumors that he's been in have been very, very real over the last couple of years. I mean, he came really close. He thought he was going to Boston a couple of years ago, which is kind of like the whole genesis of this whole thing. And it just happened a couple of times since. And so I think at this point, he just feels like it's a matter of, it's time for them to make a decision on where they're going to go with this. Because as much potential as there is in that Myles and Domas pairing, it hasn't really clicked at a level that can make Indiana competitors, and it just doesn't really seem like that's going to happen at this point. And so it really makes the most sense for them to split it up at this point, it seems like, unless this brief little turnaround the last couple of days really is a springboard to something different, then obviously they're going to see that out. And that's why it's not like they're just making a trade in the next week or so. I mean, they are going to continue to evaluate this team as we get closer to the trade deadline and trades become more feasible.
Do you think in any way Turner saying this once expanded role could hurt his trade value? Like, could there be teams out there that say, oh, we actually love the role that Indiana has you in as a rim protector and a guy that can stretch the floor a little bit. We don't want you necessarily to come here and think you're getting, post touches or things like that. How do you think this will be taken by those around the league that possibly have interest?
I don't think there's anyone around the league saying that. I mean, everyone knows he's a 5, and no team in the league wants to try to do what the Pacers are doing. The Pacers are doing that because they're arguably two most talented players, and I guess you could put Malcolm in that too, are both centers, and so they had to find a way to make it work. But any team that's trading for Myles is going to want to have, ideally, a wing next to him and have him at the 5, because Myles is a really, really good roll man and pick and pop guy. Like, he is the ideal guy to have as your 5. And he doesn't get to roll nearly enough. And I think if he does, he's just getting those more reps. It's going to really refine his game even more. So I think what it does is whatever it could do in hurting his trade value because of what you're saying, or because it shows some discontent, and therefore teams are going to think that Indiana's more desperate to trade him. I think that's offset by the fact that, I'm sure there were a lot of teams, this is something I have heard from other front offices, is that there are a lot of teams that kind of felt like, we don't think Indiana's going to actually make a move, so we're just not focusing on that. And by him putting out the bat signal with this, it's going to get all these teams to go, all right, this really is the moment of opportunity to make a move, for whether it's Myles or Domas or Karis LeVert. So, let's actually start getting on the phone and building momentum to making a deal.
Jared Weiss is our guest on the Payless Liquors guest line. He is the NBA writer for The Athletic. Jared, if you had to rank them, knowing that Malcolm Brogdon, contractually speaking, cannot be traded right now, so we'll take him off the board, but simply 1, 2, 3. The 3 players on the Pacers roster with the most overall trade value that would be coveted elsewhere are who? 1, 2, 3.
I'll say Malcolm. I think this is in the story. Malcolm told me he doesn't want to get traded. I mean, he obviously can't this year, but he likes Indiana. He likes the setup there. He doesn't want to go anywhere. Even if they go to a rebuild, he doesn't want to leave. Then, I mean, Myles and Domas are obviously more valuable than LeVert. And, I mean, LeVert's good, don't get me wrong, but, LeVert's he hasn't been that good of a playmaker this year, and his defense hasn't been that good. And we know he's a very talented scorer, but Domas is a really good scorer and really good playmaker, while Myles is one of the best defenders in the game and a good pick and pop big. So I think those two are just more valuable than Karis at this point. And then between Domas and Myles, it's actually really tricky because, I mean, Domas is an all-star offensive player. Myles is kind of the ideal center for most teams that already have an offensive system built in. So I think that there's probably more teams around the league you could plug Myles into because it's really hard to build a really good offense around Domas. And, Domas, there's a lot of concerns about just his defensive communication and how would a defense fare if he was at the 5, he didn't have someone like Myles behind him. So I feel like Myles maybe has more trade value just because there's so many more teams that he can fit into, and there'll probably be more competition to trade for him. But obviously, Domas is an all-star, and when you have that moniker to you, it just ups the price naturally. But I honestly don't think I could pick between the two of them. They're neck and neck on that regard.
And I feel like, LeVert is the guy that I personally think Indiana might be most willing to parlay into other pieces. But I also think that LeVert might get the least return on investment if you consider what you're giving up in LeVert and his scoring ability. Just because I'm not real high on Karis LeVert, Jared, because I feel like he's a guy that while he does one thing well, it is a thing that a lot of players can do well for you and still facilitate and make others better. I don't know that LeVert does. Am I too harsh on Karis LeVert?
I mean, not too harsh, but there's definitely room for him to get back into it. And he's in the process of recovering from a lot of health trauma over the past couple of years. So I think he'll continue to improve. And he was very, very good a couple of years ago. But I definitely, after spending time around the team and watching him play, I do really see that there's just kind of an offensive mindset thing there where he isn't playmaking at the level that I think everybody would want to see from him. And so it's just like I don't think teams are looking at him as that kind of 3-level playmaker the way that they might have a couple years ago right now. So I think that's right. And I think that, honestly, I think both sides are ready for that move to happen.
Jared, were you surprised that Kevin Pritchard spoke on the record with you? Typically, yes. We don't hear a whole lot from Kevin during the regular season.
Very surprised. I was pleasantly surprised when they told me I was going to get him and Rick Carlisle. Shocked when they both wanted to sit down for half an hour. We had wonderful conversations, but I liked them both very much. I have no idea how they feel about me. I think we got along pretty well. But what was shocking about it was, if you read the story, I was sitting there doing my interview with Malcolm Brogdon when the Shams and Bob Kraft story dropped, saying that that they were considering blowing up the team. And I kind of noticed everybody was panicking, and Carlisle waved over Brogdon, and they disappeared to the back room, where it turns out that Pritchard and Carlisle were having an impromptu meeting to tell them we're not doing anything, which obviously is, they're going to consider doing it very strongly. But I figured Pritchard was going to cancel on me, and I give him tremendous credit for, after all of that, coming down pretty soon after it happened. It wasn't like he spent hours deliberating his game plan on how to deal with this. I mean, we came down I think he probably came out like 20 minutes after the meeting was over, and we had a wonderful conversation. He was he said a lot of stuff on the record that I was really surprised he was saying it on the record as straightforward as he wanted to. But, Pritchard is very confident in his position and confident in his management of the franchise. He has a tremendous relationship with ownership, and I think he feels like he has, he really has confidence of ownership to operate as he sees fit.
How much say do you think Rick Carlisle has, Jared? Like and look, I know Kevin Pritchard is the ultimate say. I get that. But how much do you think Rick Carlisle will have an increased voice of personnel decisions within the franchise?
I think he has a very significant voice. I don't think Rick Carlisle is coming back to a team that could be possibly blowing it up and rebuilding, or just a team that wasn't on a clear track towards winning, which is what the Pacers situation was, if he wasn't going to have a very significant, prominent role in this situation. This is not the coach gives his input to the GM and hopes the GM will listen to him. I think it's very much a partnership with those guys.
Jared Weiss, again, The Athletic, where you can read his work, including covering the NBA and, in this case, specifically the Pacers. Jared, we appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend, all right?
Thank you. You too.
All right, Kevin, that's Jared Weiss on the Payless Liquors hotline.
I thought he was spot on, Jake, in describing Myles and saying he thinks it's time for the Pacers to make a choice at center. It is time, and it has been time. I thought that time could have been made, that decision could have been made a year or two ago. I also think this, Jake, when we get into the Myles Domas debate, and again, I am more Team Domas, but I'm not that really anti-Myles. I also think the expectations for Myles and Domas entering this franchise could not be at different ends of the spectrum. Domas was viewed as the extra piece in the trade. Paul George and Victor Oladipo, and then it was like, here's Domantas Sabonis, and like it almost took a lot of, hey guys, you realize Sabonis was also a lottery pick. I just think the fans viewed it as, and part of this, I think Victor's IU background had a lot to do with it, but people just views Domas as an extra piece and kind of the cherry on top.
I think that's really fair, yeah.
Whereas Myles, remember what happened early in Myles' career? Larry Bird's comments, thinking he could be one of the greatest Pacers players ever.
Myles Turner was part of the transition, right? Of like once Paul George left, it was like, well, that's cool. We got Myles Turner. It's his team.
And Larry's comments.
And then it was let's go, right? I mean, that's basically what it came down to, It was like, let's go! Yeah, it was basically that, right?
And I do think, in all seriousness, like that, how we view both of these players in their kind of introduction to us as Pacers, I do think that's played a role in the disappointment with Turner, whereas there's not that with Sabonis.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Speaking of let's go, it's time to go to Big O Tires, is it not?
The Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
I'm like picturing you and Shannon in the car tomorrow, and like every state line that you cross, you all of a sudden play.
That's right. Hey, look, it's the Wisconsin state line. There's the March Cheese Castle. Yeah.
Let's go! Fair Oaks Farm exit. Here we go.
You know it. I have a feeling tonight we're going to be at the Pacer game. Midway through the game, she's going to turn around and me go, what was that all about? I heard a little of that on the radio. What was that let's go thing?
Pray for her, honestly. Last night, that was the call from the Rutgers radio network as Purdue loses to Rutgers 70-68. Ron Harper Jr. hits just beyond half court, just in front of half court, I guess. Shot at the buzzer there. Just some unbelievable playmaking by both teams in the final 15 seconds. Harper Jr. hit a shot to take the lead. Purdue answered with a great set. Travion Williams pushed Purdue back ahead by 1, and then Harper Jr. hits the game winner, and Purdue will lose their number 1 ranking here on Monday. The low-hanging fruit, Jake, Neil Armstrong spent more time on the space mission than Purdue did at number 1?
Yeah, we looked it up. They were just over 21 hours on the surface of the moon. But yes, from the time they took off to the time they splashed back down, Neil Armstrong was in space, in fact, longer. But you know what? If I'm a university and my basketball team only spends, less than a week or 1 week at number 1, and the thing that people need to point out to make fun of that is how long one of my graduate astronauts spent on the moon, I'm fine with it. If that's, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you could have the watch shot.
Yeah, okay.
10-year anniversary, Jake.
That's coming up tomorrow, right?
I think is it not today?
Like I said, is today the 9th or the 10th?
10th.
Yeah, it was today. So, as I said, Indiana fans, and listen, I went to Indiana. I grew up a huge Indiana fan. But Indiana fans that were like mocking Purdue for celebrating being number 1. It's only December and they're celebrating number 1. Oh, by the way, it's the 10-year anniversary when we beat number 1 in December. Let's go. Let's go. I mean, come on, right?
That wasn't Don Fisher and was it Todd Leary on the call back?
Actually, for the watch shot, it was Don Fisher. It's a great call, I will say. It is a great call.
Was it Eric Sir?
What's that?
Eric Sir?
Royce Waltman.
Oh, all right.
Royce Waltman was on the call with him.
Yeah.
Larry was on the call during the Duke game in 2002, and that's one of the great. Yeah, I mean, I love you, Don. I love you, Don. That was 2002.
Well, I think we've that's the "Let's Go" chant in the Mountain Rushmore of radio calls.
I was going to say, I mean, it's
way up
all
there.
Of a sudden, Jim Irsay's like, "Hello, did you not hear my We Will Rock You?"
To be fair, I will let Mark cue it up. But to be fair, we will play the Watt shot from Don Fisher because it was a great call.
Last night after the game, Matt Painter shared his thoughts and brought up kind of an anecdote that he remembered from Gene Cady about life on the road in college basketball.
You know, Coach Cady used to always talk about it. He goes, when you go on the road, you got to be 10 points better than somebody. Because if you allow it to be close, crazy things can happen. We allowed it to be close.
I don't think that's in reference to, officiating. I think it's a reference of Iowa got back in the game at Mackey. They couldn't get over the hump. You let Rutgers back in the game, and that crowd, Jake, at moments I thought they were willing Rutgers to stay in that game without, one of their best players in Geo Baker as well. I think that's a great, great quote from Painter and obviously via Cady just on what life is like on the road, particularly in that conference.
Yeah, you can't let teams like that hang around and it just, before you know it, it gets away from you, and that's exactly what happened. But Iowa showed that the blueprint for Purdue is, to trap their guards and put some pressure on them in the backcourt, and Rutgers plays a similar style and took advantage of it.
Eric Hunter, Brandon Newman. Purdue needs a little bit more from them, especially with how the blueprint has been so far in the first two Big Ten games of the year. All right, tonight, as Jake mentioned, he'll be over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. It's Pacers-Mavericks, 7 o'clock tip. Pacers favored by 1.5 in that one. Does sound like Luka Doncic will be playing. The Pacers, though, might not have his former coach, Rick Carlisle.
They definitely won't.
Yeah, I don't think it's been official, but it sounds like it. The PCR test, I think, was supposed to come back today. That would confirm this positive COVID test for Rick Carlisle. Therefore, he would be out. Justin Holiday remains out with his positive COVID test. That's now nearing 2 weeks. The Mavs have lost 8 of 11, but again, Doncic is back. And it'll be Luka tonight and Steph Curry Monday. So I assume a good amount of visiting fans rocking those jerseys.
What's Luka go for tonight?
Luka goes for 28 and 11.
36.
Whew.
36 he's going for.
They're 12 and 12 on the year. Jake, the Mavericks, but they've lost 8 of 11. So just totally, I think Luka being out has certainly played into some of that.
The Colts didn't get a loss last night. They got a win, right?
Big win with the Vikings holding on a wild Thursday night game. Vikings up 29-0. Steelers come back. They score 20 straight. A little confused why Pittsburgh didn't go for 2 earlier in that game. But they ended up having a chance at the end of regulation. Pat Freiermuth, a rookie from Penn State, makes what looks to be potentially the game-tying touchdown. Then Harrison Smith, Vikings Pro Bowl safety, knocks the ball out of his hand. That would have cut the lead to 2. Then Pittsburgh obviously would have gone for 2 to try and send the game into overtime because that was the final play of regulation. So with that, Jake, the Colts move from 9th to 8th in the AFC standings, and we'll go over some of the games to watch for here this weekend in just a second. But there is I would say, better than decent chance the Colts will go to bed Sunday night in the playoff picture as they return from their bye week.
We'll get the proverbial, if the playoffs began today, right?
Correct, yes.
Also, one other sad note from overnight, if you are just joining us or just waking up, Al Unser, who first came to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a heralded rookie class that included Mario Andretti, Gordon Johncock, Joe Leonard in 1965. 6 years before Al Unser won his first Indianapolis 500, he, of course, or 5 years before, he won it in 70, 71, 78, and in 1987 became just the second driver, joining A.J. Foyt, to win 4 Indianapolis 500s. At the time, it was a record for the largest number of years between win number 1 and their final win, talking about the 17 years that, between 1970 and 1987. That record was, of course, surpassed this year when Helio Castroneves joined the 4-time Winners Club along with Rick Mears. But Al Unser, who led 644 laps over 27 Indianapolis 500 starts, 13 top 5s, and as mentioned, the 4 wins at Indianapolis, part of his 39 career wins as a driver, 3 USAC championships. Al Unser passing away at the age of 82 in New Mexico after a 17-year journey with cancer. He is survived by his wife as well as his son, of course, the 2-time Indianapolis 500 winner, Al Unser Jr. He was a dear and humble champion that lived his life very similarly to the way he drove a race car, perhaps understated but triumphant until the very end. Al Unser passing away at the age of 82. We'll get back into some of the Colts stuff, right, Kevin, as well as the pop quiz?
I did just want to share this Mario Andretti comments on that. He just posted this a few minutes ago. Mario saying, I feel lost and sadness at the passing of Al Unser, one of the top 5 racers who has ever lived, and the kindest, calmest, smartest, toughest, most fun, well-liked guy ever, and shared a picture of them on a dirt track in Illinois from a while ago. So Mario Andretti and tons of people obviously reaching out. Condolences to the Unser family and to Demaryius Thomas, his family as well. Demaryius Thomas, former Broncos wide receiver, tragically passed at the age of 33. Early reports indicate possibly a seizure for him. And so thoughts with the Unser family and the Thomas family on this Friday morning.
When we come back for the pop quiz to get you fired up, just because people have given us grief for playing the shot of Rutgers beating Purdue for so long, it's the 10-year anniversary of the watch shot. Indiana fans, brace yourself. We're going to make it fair and balanced here by coming back and listening to Don Fisher from 10 years ago today. And then we'll get into the pop quiz as well on Kevin and Query here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. There's never been a better time for a cash-out refinance. Thehomeloanexpert.com.
NMLS number 1326241.
We have your chance to win tickets to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra when they return to Gamebridge Fieldhouse December 22nd. Sign up to win today at 1075thefan.com.
Presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook. The Goblet has dropped. Download it. Must be 21 and up.
Are you driving a car that's out of warranty and the cold weather is causing it to act up? Well, get into your locally owned and operated Big O Tire store in Brownsburg, the Indy location at 86 and Zionsville Road, Lebanon, Mooresville, Plainfield, or Whitestown for that alignment, shocks and struts, a new battery, oil changes, and, of course, new tires. All the big brands plus their very own Big O brand tires are sold every day at the lowest prices. And Big O offers no credit needed financing, so no matter what your budget or situation, they've got financing tailored to you. That's why Big O Tires is the team you trust.
Now, you don't get to play as much as the offense and defense, but it must be cool to be called special teams. It just sounds good. What team are you on? The special team. That's tight, right? Oh, if you're a fan of special teams, you can just bet on those. My sportsbook app has prop bets, so have at it, people. It's a special app, people!
Must be 21. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
When it comes to working at Geico, our best advocates are our employees, like Michael. But since he is so focused on growing his career, we hired an actor to read his story.
If you want a job where you get out as much as you put in, Geico is the best place to work. Plus, we promote from within, so there are no ceilings placed on your opportunities.
They even offer parental leave to full-time employees. So there's nothing stopping him from going all the way to the top. But not too high. He's scared of heights.
Ready to start your career, Indy? We're hiring claim sales and service agents. Apply online today at geico.job/Indy.
Spectrum Mobile is reinventing wireless again. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month per line. No contracts, no added taxes or fees. Includes nationwide 5G. Save up to 60% with Spectrum Mobile. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month. Call 855-438-2999 or visit a store near you. Offer valid for new customers on 2+ unlimited lines. Spectrum Internet required. Savings based on 2-line comparison of unlimited plans among major national carriers as of 9/20/21. Prepaid excluded. Restrictions apply.
The Ride with JMV.
PFF data analyst Ben Brown. So is it going to turn out to be worth it for the Colts giving up that first rounder for Carson Wentz?
Carson Wentz has, I would say, exceeded expectations. He's a top 15 quarterback in PFF passing grade so far this season. I think it kind of solves at least a few more years their question at the quarterback position. They are definitely capable of being a playoff team and potentially making some noise in the AFC with Carson Wentz.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
Okay, so good thing it's a Friday because I'm just now starting to wake up and I realized I said that we were going to be fair and balanced. We're going to actually wait.
I'm glad you didn't say it because only another half hour left of me for the week.
That too. But I was saying, like, listen, people are getting on us because we keep playing this Rutgers shot over and over. Well, that would be a bad news play for Purdue. So, too, would be the Watford shot would be bad news. So it's not really fair and balanced because Indiana would be enjoying either one. And so it shows a favoritism towards IU But I will say, Kevin, before we get to the pop quiz, I will never. I've always said this. You could stand with a megaphone on top of a billboard on 465 and scream into it every day, like Purdue rules, Purdue rules, Purdue rules. And on one day, on February 12th, just say like IU rules, and go into a mall, and someone will come up to you and go, "You're the guy that stood on a billboard and shouted how IU rules." And vice versa. You can do that for either school. It's one of the great things of the rivalry.
I would like to think that we will give proper balance to Purdue and Indiana.
Of course.
Over the time that we have this show.
I enjoy watching Purdue play, man. I'm a Matt Painter fan.
I was locked in last night, and unfortunately it did not end the way. And so does that mean we find like the IU Syracuse highlights from the Sweet 16 and we maybe play those highlights?
I'd like to play the IU Syracuse highlights from 87 if I could. But yes, the highlights of where we need an outside shooter and Matt Ross nowhere to be found because we ran him off. Yeah, those would be
Matt
fun.
Ross, there's a name. Okay, pop quiz. This is our final one without Scotty. Multiple choice to end it. I think pretty doable. A variety on this pop quiz. It is a freebie Friday, so Jiffy Lube prize back to anybody that calls in and is chosen for the pop quiz. Jake, your first look at it, your brief thoughts.
Not bad. Not bad.
I mean, doable, right?
Very doable.
Okay.
Last one might trip some people up.
Yeah. Multiple choice, though. Number 1 through 8.
I'll go with number 3, Jay Edwards.
Jay Edwards.
Or Carson Edwards.
Carson Edwards.
Brian
Edwards joins us now. Brian, good Friday morning.
Hello.
Hey, how we doing, Brian? Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's do it. How we feeling, Brian?
All right.
Okay.
Brian, you sound like a nice fella. What time did you wake up this morning? 9:31?
Oh, about 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Let's go!
What do you do?
He's been listening ever since.
Brian, what do you do that gets you up so early?
I have 2 small kids.
Okay, fair enough. And what are their names?
More.
I'm sorry?
What are your kids' names?
Madison and Avery.
Madison and Avery. This is a freebie Friday, so imagine their joy when they're going to be able to go with you for an oil change at Jiffy Lube, right? All right.
They're so lucky.
Dad of the year right here,
right.
Brian, if you're able to take this home.
All right, I'll give you question number 1, all right? Army takes on Navy tomorrow for the 122nd time ever. In my opinion, the greatest rivalry in college football. Who leads the all-time series? You have a 50-50 shot here. Would it be Navy or would it be Army?
I'm going to go with Navy.
Okay.
Good work, Brian. All right, the 2021 Heisman Trophy will be handed out Saturday night with Alabama's Bryce Young being the overwhelming favorite to take home the award. Who won last year's Heisman Trophy?
Devontae Smith from Alabama.
Tell you what, Brian's on it. Brian, you sound like a smart fella, too. What side of town are you from?
I'm actually from Lafayette.
Are you really? Okay.
Nice. They beat Rutgers this year at Rutgers.
That's right. Okay, here we go.
Last night was rough.
Well, speaking of last night, name the player for Rutgers that hit the shot that led to this infamous call. Let's go! Who was the player that hit the shot?
Ron Harper Jr.
Okay, all right. Brian, number 4, IU plays the Merrimack Beavers on Saturday in men's basketball. What state is Merrimack located?
They got a harbor full of tea.
I'll give you a hint. It's in the Eastern Time Zone. Jake, he's 3 for 3. We can't be giving too many.
It's Freebie Friday.
Is it Massachusetts?
Okay. Lastly, Brian, Al Unser, the great driver, great gentleman of the Indianapolis 500, passed away last night at the age of 82. I've mentioned several times that he is the all-time laps leader in 500 history. Who ranks second? Scott Dixon, Mario Andretti, AJ Foyt, or Ralph De Palma, who theoretically would not be on this list unless he was second?
I'll go AJ Foyt.
Okay, let me give you those options again. Scott
AJ
Dixon,
Foyt, it is.
Scott Dixon, Mario Andretti.
I cannot have a 5 for 5er on
AJ Foyt
on
or
my
Ralph
resume.
De Palma, who theoretically would not be listed with the others. Ralph DePalma was a fabulous driver. I'm just saying he's from like the way back, and the others are,
Brian's holding Madison in Avery's hands. Jake was trying to hold Brian's hand across the street there. Army takes on Navy tomorrow. 122nd time ever. The leader of the all-time series, Jake.
The leader is, in fact, staying afloat. It is Navy, 61-53-7. That's right.
Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner.
Let's go! So
what's
Ron
that,
Harper Jr., in fact, hit the game winner.
Let's go! So that's 2 in a row for Bama. Did Bama win any? Is that like 3 of 4, 3 of 5?
Well, yeah, 2 of 1. Did Tua win it?
I think he won. Did he win it? I'm gonna have to look that up.
I always forget if Tua won. Tua didn't win it, did he?
Burrow won
Kyler Murray won it in 2018.
And Burrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
Burrow. So, yeah, I guess Alabama.
Well, Derrick Henry won it.
Yeah, 2015 for Henry. Boy, Alabama, such a drought until Devontae Smith was able to end it. Okay, number 4, IU plays Merrimack on Saturday in men's basketball. What's their real nickname again? What are we?
They're the Warriors, I believe.
Correct.
Did we say Warriors?
Yes.
You said Warriors, but I like Beavers better.
Yeah. Let's go! Sick there. Massachusetts, the state located. Okay, number 5.
Let me ask you guys this. Al Unser, I was going to ask this question. In 1987, Al Unser was in the Indianapolis 500, a race dominated by Mario Andretti in the Beatrice machine. Actually, Beatrice was, I think, the year before. But Mario Andretti
sounds like a sewing older woman.
It does.
Gertrude and Beatrice.
And Beatrice. Al Unser in 1987 was in a show car. And late in the race, a driver came in.
What is a show car for our people out there that are not?
Excellent question. The show car is a car that is not primarily used for racing, but rather for display for sponsors and things. Like when you go to Meijer and they have a show, a car set up for display.
So not as souped up as an actual race car?
Well, the body of the car itself, they put a racing engine in it, but it was not. It's a, they were like, hey, we need a chassis or an outer shell body of a car. Well, we got one that's on display at Airway. Okay, grab that thing and we'll put Al Unser in it. So Al Unser gets in the car for second weekend of qualifying. They put him in the car. He goes out. He stays, qualifies kind of in the middle of the pack, goes out, runs the race, ascends towards the lead. Late in the race, a driver making his 4th career start who had finished 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in his first 3 starts, pits seemingly for the win, and his gearbox goes loose, and he stalls in the pits twice, and it allows Al Unser to go flying down the straightaway and take the lead to go on to win the race. What driver had the issue on pit road? And the answer to that, by the way, instead of keeping you guys on hold here, Roberto Guerrero would have been my question. But Ralph DePalma is the guy that is second all-time in laps led, and unfortunately, Brian went with A.J. Foyt despite my incredible hints there of Ralph DePalma. So, but it is a
stay on the line,
Friday,
Brian.
Right?
Stay on the line.
You don't get to come back tomorrow. You don't even get a lousy copy of our home game. You're a complete loser.
You lose. Good day, sir.
Tony, get your bag and get the hell out of here. You know what you'd say to Tony? That's right. That's what you'd say to him. Tony, we're leaving. Let's go, right?
So Scott Dixon's going to pass Unser, right?
Theoretically, yeah. I mean, he's
570 laps for Dixon. Al Unser at 644. You assume Scott Dixon's going to have multiple 500 starts still left in him, and you would think, given his consistency, an incredible run, he would eventually go there.
74 more laps, right?
How about Luke? I didn't know this, Jake. Alabama. Luke says Alabama's never had a quarterback win the Heisman Trophy.
That may be right. Alabama has had, 3 quarterbacks start and win a Super Bowl? Kenny Stabler, Joe Namath, and Bart Starr, right?
So none of those guys won a Heisman Trophy.
No. And as a matter of fact, I'm trying to think of other. Do you know what school? Here's a great trivia question for you. Do you know what school has had more quarterbacks start a Super Bowl than any other school, Kevin? What school has produced the most, the highest number of different men to start a Super Bowl at quarterback? What university?
I might be totally off. Is it Miami of Ohio?
Miami of Ohio is not correct, but I will tell you the answer on the other side. Sound good?
Okay.
All right, and we'll put a bow tie on it as well. It's Kevin and Query.
This is how we reinvent banking.
Say the money's gone tight in your spending account, but your car needs fixing and you're down and out. Ouch. Who can help with the loan when you're stuck from 100 up to $1,000 with no interest when you auto pay us back, son? One gas starts with H ends with Huntington. Introducing Standby Cash. Extra cash when you need it. Free when you auto pay it back. Huntington. Welcome. Without automatic payments. 12% APR. Eligibility requirements apply. Amount available is based on customer eligibility. Learn more at huntington.com/standbycash.
All right, the NFL is nearing the playoffs, and Week 14 gives us a big AFC North divisional rematch between the Browns and Ravens, and FanDuel Sportsbook is about to make it even bigger because FanDuel is giving new customers 30-1 odds on either team to win. That means you can win $150 on just a $5 bet. So both teams have been up and down all season, but I'm going to roll with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson in this one. I just don't trust the Browns at this point. You could feel differently and go that way. FanDuel sports betting made simple. That's why they're always hooking you up with great offers like this one. That's why they're the number one rated sportsbook app in America. Plus, the app is safe, secure, easy to use, easy to sign up, and when you win, you get paid in as little as 2 hours. If you're already a FanDuel sportsbook user, FanDuel's hooking all customers up with $50 when you refer a friend. Plus, your friend will get $50 as well. Just hit the refer button in your account to get that happening, to get the link and everything else. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's number one sportsbook. Just sign up today with promo code MARK before this Sunday afternoon's matchup between the Ravens and Browns, and you can win $150 on a $5 bet. Again, that's promo code MARK, M-A-R-C. 21 and over and present in Indiana. New users only, $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus, $150. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
You know you worked hard to build your wealth. You also know one must plan for the twists and turns ahead. The children growing up, empty nest realities, and the joys of retirement. There's something else you need to know. You're not alone in this. You have a wealth management partner in Edelman Financial Engines to work with you every step of the way. Whether it's personalized advice or our modeling of over 38,000 investments monthly to keep you current and focused. It also helps to know that we use a cost-effective, integrated approach to wealth planning. From tax-optimized portfolios to life-focused advice for retirement and the possibilities ahead. If you're asking, what more can I do to take my wealth potential to the next level? Call to schedule a free, no-obligation meeting with an Edelman Financial Engines advisor who knows what that takes. Call 833-PLAN-EFE or visit planefe.com today.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Warby Parker. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at warbyparker.com/terms.
Did you pay too much for your glasses? Ever wonder why glasses cost so much? It's because for decades, the eyewear industry was dominated by a single company that kept prices artificially high while reaping huge profits. Warby Parker was created to change that.
I just made my first Warby Parker purchase. The glasses were everything I could have wanted and more. I absolutely love them. And they only cost $95, including prescription lenses.
Warby Parker's glasses are designed and produced in-house, so you get high quality for a fraction of the price. Warby Parker's glasses start at just $95, including your prescription, plus scratch-resistant anti-reflective coatings and UV protection at no extra cost. Now, do you need new glasses? Text GLASSES to 64,000 to pick 5 Warby Parker frames to try on at home for free. That's GLASSES to 64,000 to get started for free. GLASSES to 64,000.
BetRivers Sportsbook wants you to be in control of your football bets. That's why players love the same-game parlays at BetRivers. Same-game parlays let you mix and match player props and game bets and gives a payout boost to the winning combinations you want to root for. Combine 2 bets or combine many. You pick your confidence level and then watch the game unfold. Bet on same-game parlays at BetRivers.com or download the BetRivers app. Must be 21 and located in Indiana. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 1-800-994-8448.
No Colts, no problem as we celebrate the bye week with an NFL doubleheader. Sunday at noon on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Okay, so I'm missing.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Sorry.
You came sprinting in here. I got nervous there for a second.
Well, I was down the hall talking to somebody, and then I came back in, so my apologies. I misspoke earlier when I said it would be fair to play the watch shot. I didn't necessarily mean as much fair to Purdue fans as much fair to the Indiana fans that I had been making fun of for the week for celebrating the watch shot. Because of their making fun of Purdue for celebrating being number 1 in December. So, that being said...
So here's Jake's salt, and wherever your wound is, just go ahead and...
That's why Todd Meyer just left the studio. He's like, get the hell out of here. I'm not hearing this again.
Well, that's what threw me off during the sounder when I started talking early. Todd was talking, and I was all thrown off. And so this was 10 years ago today, is that right?
I believe... I should know this.
By the way...
I was in the gym, so I should...
It was 10 years ago today.
California is the school with the most quarterbacks to start the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. Cal Berkeley?
Yes.
Wow.
Jared Goff. Jared Goff being one, Joe Kapp being one.
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers being one. They have 5 total.
Gotcha.
Vince Ferragamo, maybe. I could be wrong on that. But at any rate, where were you 10 years ago today?
I was there.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was covering my senior year.
Were you the one that broke the Playmate's ankle?
No, I was working. I was covering the men's basketball team for the IDS. That was my senior year at IU, so covered them all through their Sweet 16 run. So went to Portland for the first 2 rounds of the tournament. Senior year spring break in Portland. It looked like this outside for 6 days in Portland. Which, that's, honestly, I know we're going to play the audio. That's kind of like a sneaky game I feel like people forget about in the Crean era. That VCU second rounder.
Yeah.
Will Sheehy
was huge, right?
Baseline jumper to win that game. And then the rematch was an awesome game, IU Kentucky at the Georgia Dome. That was an awesome game.
I can say this now because it's no longer around. That VCU game against Indiana, I have one of my favorite T-shirts. I have a VCU T-shirt that I bought on the VCU campus, right? And as a joke, the day of that game, I was wearing that shirt, my shirt that just says VCU. And we went to dinner at the now rest in peace Colts Grill downtown. Do you remember that place, Kevin?
Oh yeah, it's right here. Mm-hmm.
And I went
Tony something or other now.
Yeah, and I'm wearing the VCU T-shirt. And some drunk guy comes up and just lays a punch right in the middle where it says VCU on my shirt. And I was walking to the bathroom. And I'm like, dude, really? Are you serious? And the manager comes and somebody points at me and says, I threw the punch and they threw me out.
Whoa.
And I was ejected from the Colts Grill. So I put a hex on them on the way out, and like a year later, they went out of business.
So this was before the game?
It was after the game. It was like the evening of the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But nonetheless, 10 years ago, I was Christmas shopping, I think. But I do think it's weird. I understand why Kentucky fans mock Indiana fans for going on. It was a great shot, no doubt about it. But Kentucky fans that are like, well, we never rush the floor at Rupp Arena. And I'm like, you know why? It's because the arena is not designed for you to do it. And deep down, Kentucky fans can talk about how they're better than anybody because they don't rush the floor. They're dying to do it.
Yeah, I was to say, I'm a fan of storming after every win. I don't care if you beat
to do it.
You can beat the Beavers of Merrimack, you storm.
Well, 10 years ago today, they stormed when this happened.
Here comes Riddell Jones. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Riddell all the way outside to Watford. 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Christian Watford with a 3! And the Hoosiers have knocked off the number 1 ranked Kentucky Wildcats! Unbelievable!
That was Don Fisher on the call for the IU radio network. Learfield, I think, was doing it at the time. Keep in mind, Kevin, that Royce Waltman was the color commentator, and you did not hear him stepping all over him, right? That's the important thing.
It's Rutgers basketball.
Let's go!
Tom Crean's expression on the sideline is just...
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah. The Watford mobbed right away. Darius Miller. We had a great headline in the Indiana Daily Student that next Monday. It was, obviously, Kentucky was ranked number 1. And if you look at the picture, and Mark, if you're looking at pictures right now, you might see this, of Darius Miller for Kentucky. His jersey number was 1. And if you look at the picture, Darius Miller is like at the bottom of the pile trying to block the shot, and IU players are storming Christian Watford, and the headline in the IDS on that Monday was trampling number 1.
Wow.
Very fitting on multiple levels, and as a nerd who was reading the sports page, pretty much I came out of the womb of the Indianapolis Star, I absolutely loved that headline, and it was, for me, selfishly, Jake, as someone, a young professional at that moment, that was a really cool event to cover.
One of the coolest moments I've seen, and admittedly, it probably wasn't as big because of the significance for Indiana of that moment, but I was at the game in 1989 when Jay Edwards hit a 3 to beat Michigan, and it was, I will never forget. I mean, the place went bonkers. And the best part about it was, I kid you not, I mean, Edwards hits this 3. Now, there was no court rush, but it was insanity. And people are going crazy, walking down the ramps of Assembly Hall and high-fiving each other. And it feels like it was 10 minutes later. I don't know if it was how long after. But once, the crowd finally kind of settled down, I kid you not, Kevin, all of a sudden you hear, 3-point basket, 3 points. Number 3, Jay Edwards. Edwards on the assist from Jones, number 4. He waited until, but it was great. And I mean, look, having said all of that, you've been to Mackey, right?
Oh yeah.
When Mackey Arena is rocking and rolling, there's no better place. I mean, it's great. Both schools have such fun moments and great electricity, and there's no reason to think that Purdue will not have those moments still this year.
Yeah, and something about Purdue, Jake, I was thinking about watching that last night. I've mentioned kind of getting that dynamic guard, and obviously they're not going to get it. They're going to have to kind of work around that this season, another one alongside Jay Ivey. I do think it's important for them, whether it's getting back to number 1 at some point in the regular season, making a Big Ten tournament run. I think it's key for them to feel some sort of pressure again during the regular season or the Big Ten tournament before you get to the NCAAs. Because when you lose like they did last year in the first round, and you've had all of this chatter in the offseason about Final Four or bust, Final Four or bust, right. Final Four or bust, you're going to feel a ton of pressure come March. So I think if they can get back to having that bullseye again on their back at some point here in the regular season, I know it's not to the level you'll feel it in March. I think that's really important.
I just think there are some areas for Purdue. Purdue is very deep. Purdue is obviously unbelievably talented. There are some areas for Purdue that they've got to clean up, and taking care of the basketball and making the right decisions late in games certainly is one of them. The other thing, too, that I think, Kevin, we talked about that we thought was a definitive positive for Purdue was that late in games they had an unquestionable go-to guy in Jaden Ivey. But I think we saw last night, Trevion Williams can be that guy, right? And was that guy last night. But there can't be that not that there was last night, but I'm saying moving forward, there just can't be that hesitation for a second of which one's it going with? You got to go. You saw last night, did you see what happened at the end of the Pittsburgh-Minnesota game in terms of hesitations and not having the presence of mind of knowing what to do in a situation that costs your team with the clock?
Oh, yeah, Chase Claypool, idiotic.
He catches a ball.
Not a representative of Notre Dame in that moment.
With 30 seconds left for a first down, and he gets up and he's holding the football and he's doing the first down pose and everything else, and his teammates are like, basically what they're saying was,
do we have to hear it again?
They were they not saying?
Do you think
that's what they're saying to him?
Austin Johnson's voice has been heard more than you or I here today.
We need to get him on the show at this point.
Just nothing says Jake throwing in the towel on a Friday show let's take the radio call and have that guy speak more than me.
No, but
let's go.
That's right.
And Mark just feeding his ego.
I like people, by the way, that are like, Query's got his finger on the button. I've nothing to do with it.
God, if you were able to control the buttons, this show would be.
Wow. Well, if I could have access to the YouTube here and just go with stuff all day. But if you're a Steeler teammate, you've got to be like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah. Zero recognition of time, score. But again, great for the Colts. They now move into the 8th spot. Big games for the Colts to watch on Sunday. Chargers, Giants, Bengals, 49ers. And again, the 49ers are favored despite being on the road in that matchup. And then Bills at Bucks. That is your 5.
So you need every NFC team to win. You know what I mean?
Correct. You're cheering for NFC teams. You're cheering for division leaders. There are other games that matter. The Titans play the Jags. I'm not going to pretend like the Jags are going to win that game. But obviously, you look at those 3 wildcard teams, Jake, Chargers, Bengals, Bills. The Bills on a short week at Tampa Bay.
Who did you say New England's got?
New England's got the bye.
Okay.
Yeah, Patriots and Colts both with this late bye week. So Titans got the Jags, Ravens are at the Browns, Chiefs are against the Raiders.
Do you think the Patriots, if we're doing the same show in New England, are we saying anything about like, oh man, they got this momentum now and boom, the bye's at the wrong time?
I always laugh at people that are like, the bye comes at the perfect time. Like, wouldn't the bye have helped when Carson Wentz couldn't move?
Exactly.
I'm always like, what? That doesn't really add up. Enjoy the Pacer game tonight and safe travels.
All right, thank you. I will try to do that, and we'll be back at it. Are they going to let us back in after the Let's Go on Monday morning at 7 a.m.?
You know, Taja Graham's been waiting outside the studio for the last few minutes. I'm a little nervous.
Greg Rakestraw, Derek Schultz later today. Have a great day, everybody.
This is a Sports Town.